program because that would be bad. Okay. We still live? I think we're still live. Yeah, okay, we're still live. Very good. Very good. Very good. As you can see, I have my dunce hat on. All right, let's get to it here. Load in. I need my remote. Yeah. Yazu doctor. Yeah. Hello, hello. Welcome to Silksong with Bartsim23. We are back, and as you can see here, I have my dunce hat on. I just last minute decided, oh wait, I need headphones on, and then I connected my headphones, and it actually sticks pretty well. Thank you, Jacka, for making me this particularly great dunce hat. My plan is to wear this dunce hat until we can finish the boss. There's also another reason for this dunce hat that I feel is appropriate. Is last night when I was recording Grounded, I had a big old mess up, and turns out the recording lost like half of like the actual screen, and I had to edit it in a way that is bearable but is not perfect. So I feel like a dunce for what I did yesterday, and I'm also a dunce for what I did last stream, which honestly, not a big deal. I didn't finish it in the number of tries, but here we are again. Game Wizard, welcome. Will we find Lace? That is the question. Did I say? Wait, why do you say that? We know where Lace is. Lace is there. Voided. We will find Lace today. Welcome, Game Wizard. Let's, I guess, just get right back into it, eh? We have our build right now is what? Looks like, yeah, it looks like we're doing the Wanderer crest, and then we have the, I think the Plasmium is a good idea. I don't know if we need these, but I don't think it's a bad thing if we do. Long Claw obviously for Wanderer is great. Reserve binding is really good, and the double binding, multi binding is really good. I think I'm happy with everything. The only thing I would change is the compass, but the heck we put on otherwise. I don't really care about anything else here. We don't need more shards. We don't need to gather any beads. I mean, we could do the barbed bracelet. That seems like a terrible idea, though. Let's just get back into it. Let's see if my muscle memory remembers how to fight Lace from last week. Let's do this. There we go. Welcome in. Welcome back. We're back in Silksong for a few hours. We could finish the game today. We could. I don't know if there's an end to it exactly. It could just keep going. I think if we finish Lace off, I think I have to have a reward. Dunce hat. Oh! Right, okay, let's take a second. The most annoying thing is she just appears sometimes. The little thing in the air, she always she's like jumps. Wait, do we double heal or just single? Do we not have multi-binder on? No, we do. Did I just mess up or just not realize? Thank you. Heal again. Why not? that range. Thank you. Holy crap. Dice is wanting to win this time. The first go here. And I appreciate it. I want to get more stuff before I... Oh, you got it. We go heal, we go heal. If she does her target attack, we get her. Love that. Do the dice. Fine. You know what? I think I'm also gonna... Oh, she did the jump. Heal up. We're gonna have Dude, this is a great start. I love it. Oh, okay, maybe that was... That's what it's thinking. No need to go crazy. We just need to... Dude, the dice. The dice. The dice are so good today. Oh, I hate that. Oh, dude. Combo move. Dude, that was high enough? Ah. No, dude, why? No, 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 no. No, I ran. Ah, dude, that was a good first try, though. Oh my god. How many procs did we have? We had like 5 procs of dice. Oh my god, that was crazy. That was insane how much dice luck we had there. I like how this hat is just fully attached to me. Got a horn. We got this. We should have had her there. As much help as the dice gave us, I don't think we'll ever have that much luck. That was all the luck of the stream's dice right there. Ain't no way. I know she's gonna jump. She's doing that combo now, but she wasn't doing before at all. Instead of she was We're staying in the air. We should just take one hit there instead of trying to do two. Clearly, enough time there for her to get the things off without needing telegraph. Dude, okay. I'm not used to no. I not know. But it's simple as that. I don't know. When she's gonna do the jump up, or when she's doing yeah, doing too many hits there is punishing. That's not fine. That is less fine. There's less fine. Not fine. Not fine, less fine. Okay. That's fine. It's freaking fine. How you doing today, Game Wizard? Having a good Friday? Oh, I get it. Will we find Lays because it's lost Lays? Figure that out. As a reason. Thank you, Dice. big though. Oh, baby! Free the lace! What do we do now? Oh! Third time's a charm. Lace, we found you! Soup. Oh, we getting out of here? She's letting us out. Did she game us? Did grandmother still just give us like a way out? Oh my god. Wait, we're running out of time. You're waiting for the die out and they're gonna come attack us. Oh, it's gone. Oh no. Are we dead? Did we not charge enough? No way! All the souls? Siblings? So us charging out actually didn't... And the black silk's going. Wait. Was there like consciousness from the... It's like we were found by our siblings. From Hollow Knight. I saved Lace as well. A sister. Sister of the Void. Defeat Lost Lace and free Farloom. Hell yeah, we did it! Holy crap. This is the top surface area, right? Mr. Mushroom? Of course, of course, of course. Yeah, okay. He's off to the next game. Grant Harold's wish and finish the game. Hey, we finished the game, thanks. Holy crap, we finished the game. Holy crap, guys. Okay, we're only 20 minutes in. Holy crap. A game by Team Cherry. Ari Gibson, William Pellin. Technical director, Jack Vine. Dude, this game's so good. What an adventure. I agree, Game Wizard. What an adventure. Christopher Larkin. What? It only took me, what, are we on our 23rd session? Bartsim23? It's all, the numbers line up. What can I say? Oh, man. Additional programming, QE, testing, and QA. What a great game. What a great game. I can't believe we finished it. I feel so, I can't believe it. We did in 20 minutes is one side of that, but 20 minutes in this session. There is something about when you hit like a roadblock in a game that if you take a break and come back, some part of like sleeping or internalization of like, oh, that's how those attacks work. You have like a better understanding. And I felt like it was just so much easier to see him play this time than at the last end of the session last time. I felt like I was like, everything was going way too fast. But in this moment, it was like, oh, this is not too bad. Are we actually doing this? How cool. Well, guys, thank you for joining me on this journey of Hornet and Silksong. We will be back for the DLC, I'm sure, which honestly might even come out this month. Who knows? Extra special thanks to the 2,158 Kickstarters and Seth Goldman. Seth. Oh. I'll have to go look into Seth. I guess what we might do is watch some videos. Through the darkness and dangers you persevered. Thank you for exploring the world of Hollow Knight Silksong. Let's meet again on the road ahead. Oh my gosh. Game completion. 100%. Time, 96 hours and 50 minutes and 40 seconds. That's a new record, right? Right? We did it? 100, under 100 hours? We did it? We're so fast. People have definitely not done it in minutes, right? Definitely not. Definitely not. That'd be crazy. I actually don't know what the time right now is. Oh my gosh, we did it, guys. 100%. The only thing left in the game are the crazy versions of it, where we complete 100% of the game. Everything we just did in 96 hours in 30 hours. If we could just push that into a 30-hour little time frame, we'd be good. And then the speedrunners complete the game under 5 hours. Man, Steel Soul, I really don't think we're ever going to try. I hate to say it, I don't think it's a game that I can not die at. What's our total deaths? Editor, me in the future, looking here. How many deaths do we have in our almost 100 hours of gameplay? Whoa! I guess we'll see in the post episode of how many times we died. I did mark all of them, I believe, so it's just gonna be me counting them all up. But my guess, just as a funny, like, in the moment thing, I bet we died. I bet we died definitely more than 100 times. I bet we died 186 times. That's a weird number, I know. 186. That's the amount of deaths I think we died. It could be way over. It could be... I don't think we're going to be much under. But that's crazy. Maybe I'm... do it... Send the confetti if I guessed it pretty close. I don't remember where our last count was, but I believe it was in the 70s. It's probably like 200 and something. Let's be honest. I'm lowballing. Steel Soul, Steel Heart, yeah, 100% complete the game and finish the game in Steel Soul. So everything we just did, no time limit, but not dying. I mean, if we went through the game again, we would be way better. Like, if there was ever a time to do Steel Soul, it'd be while it's fresh in my head. I just don't think I could do it. I don't know if I want to do it, actually. That's the main thing. I might be able to do it with enough perseverance, but to do it again, I don't know. I'm going to open this up because I don't know what happens when we go back into a 100% game, you know? Did we... So we can jump back down. So technically, the game stops right before our final fight. So if we did need to finish up any loose ends, this is where we go back up and do it all. That's something to keep in mind in the future too. I was so worried that it might like cut us off, but the first game did the same thing where you can probably redo everything if you needed to. I wasn't sure if there's any cutoffs. Just look at this map. I remember when we were just exploring Shellwood, Bellheart, Morrow, Bull and Bottom, and Hunter's March, like just that lower half, thinking, this is probably the whole map. And then we unlocked Greymore, or not Greymore, Sinner's Road that went to the Underworks. And we're like, okay, maybe there's a bit more. I guess Citadel, Slab. The Slab moment was crazy. I think in my head, the moments that, if I think back about or venture through this game, that pop out the most is gotta be the Slabs up there. I loved Mount Fay, actually. I think Mount Fay was so beautiful as far as the area and like the mask moment when talking to the mask maker, which I still don't understand fully the whole thing. And like Citadel's gorgeous. There's so many cool things. If I was gonna pick one of these areas as my favorite area, it would either be Verandia on the right in the past, or Sands of Karak in the past. Because Sands of Karak, actually, yeah, that area in the past underwater was so cool. That was, as far as aesthetic wise, one of my favorite moments. But there were so many great areas here, and I can't believe we just completed it. Oh my gosh, finished the game. What if we just we just went over here anyway. So that's a crazy ending. We didn't really talk about it too much, but what we didn't get out, the flower didn't help us get out enough, but the siblings from the first Hollow Knight, from the little ghost and all of the ones that died before, I don't think it was just him, right? Do we know what happened to the character we played at the end? Because there was multiple endings, right? So, I wonder what that's all about. I wonder what the actual ending was. Because my canon ending in my head is that we defeated everything, defeated the sun god, and he was free to just keep roaming. Like, I wonder if the Hollow Knight is still alive in this timeline of Hornet. I would think so. But admittedly, I never finished the DLC for the gods, so I don't know what happens after you do the full P6 or P5, whatever it is, the final painting. So I do wonder if there's something connected to the Void, or if that was truly just the kids that died in the Void hole, pretty much. And that also shows that not all the Void beings down there are like harmful. They're not like possessed to kill. Those actually had memories of us, of maybe us helping the first character and like trying to help us. So very interesting. I love it. I'm really excited for the DLC. I wonder if it'll explain it. What should we do? Should we maybe watch? Maybe we should watch a video on the lore. Let me see if I can figure that out. But I guess what I'll end here is I'll end this episode here of the Silksong. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for joining me on this journey. I guess we're on to the next one. I just died. I guess we're on to the next one. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Once again. Okay. So that's the end of the episode there. Let's exit to the menu. I'm gonna see if I can pop open a theories video. So I'm not used to this. I am a YouTuber that doesn't do much reaction video stuff. So this is gonna be weird and a little clunky on my end, I believe. So let's find. First, let's maybe look at the chat log, because I know Littlefool told me about a video to maybe watch. So I think I'm down with that. I'm down with that. Yes. So how would I do that? Let me look at my previous stream here. This is gonna be a little sloppy. I'm sorry, guys. I will go to live streams. Go to. No, we ended on session 22, which is also kind of weird. our second 22nd session was when we finished Silksong. And also, maybe a little spoilers here for anyone playing Grounded, but 22 is also the number of chocolates I had to break. So kind of weird there. Let's see. If I go to chat, comments, can I look? Wait, no. Can I look at chat or? Oh, now I'm confused. I'm like looking at my previous stream because I know. At least Little Fool told me a bit of like a place to go for that, for a video specifically. Let me just open up the stream and look at chat at the end. Right? That should work, right? Yeah. Okay. It might take me 3 to 5 hours. It might have actually been like an hour and a half. Yeah, I can't believe you finished this fast. Wait, okay. From the end. Almost done with the fight. Little Fool's bad at me in that previous one. Yeah. Let's see. I should watch the Moss Bags Silksong lore video. Okay, that's it. Let's pull it up. Moss Bag. I have when I play games on here on YouTube, I make a point to not watch any content as much as I can. Specifically Hollow Knight, actually, I did take some liberties after finishing the first one, and I watched some of the lore videos on that. But I haven't watched any lore videos or Silksong content. Besides just the random shorts that sometimes pop in and I pull away immediately. Alright, so let's find that video. So it's called Silksong lore video, Moss Bag. The somewhat complete lore of Silksong. Let's see if I can make this a little more little better. Because we want to have this video here. Yeah, we'll screen that, and then let's switch this over. Actually, wait. Hold up. There we go. Okay, so that's the video. I'm gonna also shut down the game when we do that. Yes. You sure? Okay, let this pop back up. Okay, so this right here is Moss Bags, the somewhat complete lore of Silksong. This is my reaction. Welcome in, guys. Hello. Weird episode. This is me reacting to a video. I don't do this often. Tell me if you like this or not. And some part of me feels a little uncomfortable because this is someone else's content, but I am going to try to stop and talk every once in a while, and just my thoughts and things. But I'm very interested to watch a thing on this. I'm going to take the dunce hat off. Although I feel bad because Little Fool really wanted me to wear this after not finishing the boss last time, and I still have it on. So we're going to... You know what? Can I actually... Maybe watch it like this. Yeah. You guys can see my like hot bar and stuff. Actually, I'll just pull that out. Push that over, maybe. Yeah, that should be good. Maybe we crop this out too, actually. This is on the fly. Sorry, guys. Not perfect. Not perfect. We'll do that. And also expand this. But in this way, we can maybe bring this back down to default view. I have a lot of between. I guess you can kind of see some videos that I'm watching. One Piece stuff. All right. Let's. I think this is good. Let me make sure I have the full screen here. Yeah, that's probably good. And Yeah, I guess so. I guess we watch. Actually, we don't want this here. Can I? You know what? Just theater mode it. It's fine. Here we go.
People have been debating what the plot of Hollow Knight Silksong even was. Why were all those
Go back to the beginning. Okay, what the Hollow Knight Silksong's plot? I mean, it makes a lot of sense, isn't it? Like we came, we saw, we conquered. I don't know. What do you mean?
Oi!
Boy.
Ever since its release back in September of 2025, people have been debating what the plot of Hollow Knight Silksong even was. Why were all those bugs obsessed with their pilgrimage to the Citadel? Who were those mysterious figures who seemed to be running the place? And just who exactly is this character? Why is everyone saying her name is Hornet and calling her a spider and a worm when she doesn't look like any of those things?
Okay, so
This video intends to answer a good 70% of these questions. We will ascend through the land of Farloom, dissecting the game's dialogue and world in an attempt to wrangle a more complete understanding of Team Cherry's Metroidvania masterpiece. But with how recent this game is, please keep in mind that the theories shared here might be lacking a sort of refinement you would expect from deep dive lore videos about other, less recent video game releases. Also, please don't take everything I say in this video as gospel. I am just one of many people with theories, and nothing makes my words more inherently correct. So don't just...
I like that, because I mean, for the main point is just like, I've also had little moments like, that's probably incorrect, that's stuff like that. But I've always been like, well, that's just my take on how I perceive the game. So I like that he's also saying that up front.
to automatically believe me when I say stuff like when the slab was built, or that the earth is round, or that now is actually a really good time to be investing in Ethereum. Oh, and this video will contain massive spoilers, not only for Hollow Knight Silksong, but also Hollow Knight. In fact, you kind of need to know a lot about Hollow Knight's story to really appreciate the story in Silksong.
Yeah.
So if you need a refresher on Hollow Knight's lore, be sure to check out my Hollow Knight lore video first.
I think that we don't have any really neat... The only thing we don't know about Hollow Knight, from our point of view, from my point of view, is finishing the Pantheons. We've completed all the other DLCs. We've completed the game and did 100%. We've done like special different endings. The only thing we don't know is the Pantheon stuff. So I think I'm going to be okay if the Pantheon stuff gets spoiled here. I think there's also just the challenge of like finishing that. So I'm just going to be okay with that.
This video also contains massive spoilers for the hit 2004 film Shrek the Third. So if you need
we gotta stop watching.
refresher on Shrek the Third's lore, be sure to check out my Shrek the Third lore video first.
Did you really have that?
Somewhat complete lore of Silksong.
What the hell?
The story of Silksong begins with Silk, more specifically Grandmother Silk, a higher being described as the primal source of all silk.
Sure.
Silk in the world of Silksong is spun from the soul of its creator, and has the power to heal wounds, extend life, and weave powerful runes. Grandmother Silk is also described as a pale being. What exactly are pale beings? Some might have you believe.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because they always would talk about the worm being the pale being over there. But I guess that doesn't apply to Grandmother Silk, but I guess a pale being is like a god. Would the sun god, the moth god, also be a pale being? Probably not, right?
They are great beings, worthy of praise above all others.
Right.
But Hornet wouldn't necessarily agree with that assessment. While pale beings are immensely powerful, they don't always have the best intentions at heart. Pale beings are usually mainly interested in total subjugation from the bugs living beneath them. Hornet, a bug who is half pale being from her father, the Pale King, explains, "Devotion or destruction. These are the only fates my kind allow." And Hornet doesn't hold the pale beings in her life in particularly high regard. She calls her father, the Pale King, a fool in the Wingsmold Hunter's journal entry, and she admonishes his wife, the White Lady, inside the Red Memory. So yeah, Hornet complains about pale beings in her diary and also gets into arguments with them in her head, which sounds pathetic, but she really does have a point. But this desire for control among pale beings was no different for Grandmother Silk. We don't know exactly when or how, but at some point in the past, she appeared in the land of Farloom. And while we don't know the exact timeline, we do know her arrival led to the decline of other nearby civilizations. One such civilization was an order of blade bugs and hunters, ruled by Crust King Khan.
Love these guys.
At the height of their rule, Khan's order occupied half of the lands of Farloom. It seems Khan and his warriors were one of the last groups left to stand against Grandmother Silk's influence. But by the time Hornet arrives in Farloom, Khan's kingdom has been all but forgotten, and his lands eroded by sand. Another group taking up residence in the land of Farloom was the Scar, a tribe of ants united in service under the powerful warrior Queen Scarsinger Carmelita. While Hornet can still find members of the Scar tribe during her time in Farloom, they seem lost without a true nest, and uncertain if the song they hear is still Carmelita's. Carmelita herself can still be found.
I forgot that because they were all pulled in by her song. They all fought for her because of her singing. So when we played the music and then they talked about her song, which I feel like we did that at some point. It was a long time ago, but I do kind of remember like her song. Who's her? Well, it's their queen. That makes sense.
But her form has withered, her power faded by time. Judging by her withered body, she appears to be about 28 or even 29 years old. Another force in Farloom is Nihilith, a plant-like being responsible for sowing the first seed, which would eventually grow into the region of Farloom known as Shellwood. While Nihilith is gone by the time Hornet arrives in...
Oh, and that's her... You know, I don't think I ever connected that boss we fought, that history, is actually her in the fountain. I kind of saw those as just shapes, but that actually, yeah, that's her face, isn't it? So she was worshipped in the Greenwood. Sorry, I'm having crazy hiccups. I'm gonna go.
Farloom. Shellwood is still filled with life, not fully snuffed out by Grandmother Silk's influence. On the eastern border of Farloom was the land of Verdania, home to twin princes. In a bid to avoid destruction by Grandmother Silk's kingdom, one of the princes gave his life as tribute. But these actions proved futile, as Verdania fell to ruin anyway, leaving the land as nothing but barren caverns by the time Hornet finds them.
See, that's also something I never connected, is that he sacrificed himself to the church pretty much to save his land, which didn't help. I knew it didn't help, but I honestly, for some part of me, thought it was who was just captured, but that makes more sense.
In addition to these different groups within Farloom, there was also a town far above on the surface. When Hornet visits this town in-game, however, it is completely abandoned. Playing her needle in near one of the few remaining corpses reveals the following dialogue. Friends seduced. Sweet promises whispered. The weaving ones beckon.
And I took that as like, okay, the whole thing down below with the church and the cathedral and the weavers was just leading, like pulling bugs from all these different kingdoms. So everyone from up here went down instead of staying here, and they probably didn't have enough people to just keep this town running.
It seems the residents of this town were drawn down into Farloom by the actions of the weavers, Grandmother Silk's spider children. Much like their mother, these spiders could produce powerful silk from within their shells, and they even devised various tools and charms as well. Hornet herself is the child of one of these weavers, Hera the Beast. As for why Hera looks so different from the rest of the weavers, the game never really explains.
See, I thought that she looks different because she is also a crossbreed. I thought that the weavers went to the Hollow Nest, right? At least that kingdom area. And then one of them had a child with one of the beasts there. I thought, because there's like this people that there were bugs that looked like looked like her, and I thought that maybe there was a child thing going on. So that Hornet was kind of like 2 generations in from that region. You know what I mean? So that's the way I thought it was, and she was still intelligent because she was still mostly weaver connected to like another one. I don't know.
She's just a weaver that doesn't look like a weaver, similar to how there are humans who just don't look like humans.
Okay.
Either way, all of this means that Farloom was actually Hornet's ancestral home, tying her to the land much more deeply than she initially realized.
I don't know if me thinking that is from something or not. I thought it was. I thought that the weavers thought less of her, particularly because she was not full weaver. Her mother, Hornet's mother.
But what exactly were the weavers doing in Farloom in this time long before the birth of Hornet? And what were these sweet promises they whispered to the bugs of the land? The answer to that question would be the Citadel of Song, an eternal city that has long been drawing in pilgrims from the lands below, compelling them to follow the holy path through the lands of Farloom in hopes of basking and singing in its shining light. Pilby, the little pilgrim, explains, "Our holy land calls on us. To journey up is our greatest task. Who are we to refuse? Guided by faith, we climb through flaming fields, across rolling moors, and up great gilded steps, all to reach that eternal, shining citadel." Even when Hornet arrives in Farloom, the call of the citadel still pulls in pilgrims. As the chapel maid explains, even now, in Farloom's long decline, the simple bugs, they're witless before it. Too grand, too majestic, too powerful. One possible example of how the Weavers pulled in pilgrims was through the creation of these bells, located in bell shrines all throughout Farloom. When Hornet...
I mean, it makes sense. Like, if you think about this world, and then you find, like, pretty much an oasis of, like, beautiful architecture and, like the tools they're using, it's, like, it does feel otherworldly. And I think that's also what a lot of, like, churches in real life, like, they build these grand things. You walk in, and it's just amazing because it's like, how did that even get built? So I think that makes a lot of sense. I think it's just, normal bugs coming in and see, like, what they built already, and they're like, I want to be a part of that. That seems more than me.
Rings one in Songclave, the caretaker admonishes her, saying, "That bell is rung out far and wide. The wretched and the lost will have heard its call. They'll be making their way here now." This exact same bell design can be found near a workbench in Weavenest Atla, indicating that these bells were designed by the Weavers, possibly as a tool to help draw pilgrims to the holy path to the Citadel.
Oh, so that was okay, so maybe there's, like, a spell in these bells because they have it in their... Oh, okay. I never noticed that was a bell in there. Oh, that's good to know.
Bugs arriving at the Citadel of Song were tasked to join the holy song. Deep within the Whispering Vaults, Hornet can find Pious Isamor, a giant statue of a pilgrim. While some of Isamor's dialogue is fractured, it seems to be telling pilgrims arriving at the Citadel that their true service can now commence, that service being to raise their voices in song. Pilgrims arriving at the Citadel could become members of the choir. Devoted members could even rise to the ranks of chorister, reed, and grand reed. They all joined in to see the Citadel's holy song sustained. But hidden beneath the beauty of the Citadel is a cruel system of subjugation designed to trap bugs into a life of endless toil.
Right.
As Hornet explains, these poor bugs, all are victim of the Citadel and its insidious attraction. This place draws them up into its maw, only to consume them utterly.
Yeah, it's
a good example of this can be found in the Underworks. Bugs are forced to work down there in inhumane conditions, being forced to spend what little rosaries they have every single time they want to rest at a bench. There's a rosary-operated confessional for bugs to use, but the message it gives is automated and tells the bugs that their sin must be cleansed by working harder. We can see this mindset internalized by Loam, a bug endlessly running on a treadmill, believing that the Citadel will eventually reward him for his hard work. Me cannot rest. Us works and Citadel breeds, and them's above do sing, and all is right. And when us works enough, them sees it. Her. Them sees it, and us gets us holy reward.
Her. That is an interesting thing that he brought attention to. Maybe her as in, like, Grandmother Silk?
Hornet can actually help Loam work by running on a nearby treadmill. After 45 seconds or so of running, a single rosary might pop out of the device, further illustrating how the faith of these bugs is exploited for labor. Another example of a bug fully buying into the Citadel's religion is the Old Penitent. The Old Penitent is a bug locked away in the Slab, a prison complex built to punish those...
Did we never find that guy?
...those convicted of sinning against the Citadel. But the Old Penitent doesn't view a situation that way, saying to Hornet, "Prisoner? I understand you not. There is no prison here. This is a whole..."
There's someone in there that we didn't find? What the hell? What the hell?
...holy place of forgiveness. Please, speak with reverence.
Wait, what? I want to boot up the game and find him. There's a guy in there we didn't find?
Even after being freed by Hornet, he refuses to leave, saying, "By the grace of the Citadel, I am here as a penitent. Here I can hide from the shame of my sins. until they are withered away by time. Leave this place? Please, strike me down dead before you speak such blasphemy again. The old
Damn.
penitent also has the following needle in dialogue. From wastes, from darkness. Drawn down, blessed call. Sisters, accord. Silence above. This dialogue seems to indicate that the old penitent was one of the bugs from the nameless town above. He was drawn into Farloom by whispered promises, and found himself locked away in a prison cell he can never leave. But the cruelty of the slab doesn't just end with the prisoners. Even the jailers are trapped here. The old penitent explains. They too are penitents. In a past age, that caste committed their own sacrilege against the Citadel. A sin long forgotten, but so grave that their offspring and the offspring of their offspring carry the guilt with them still. To serve
This is crazy.
here is their only hope of absolution. The fate of the Guardflies makes clear that the Citadel is just about using guilt and sin as justifications to force bugs into endless servitude. Hornet.
So, damn. Wow, they even used... I didn't think about that, but yeah, the whole Citadel, there's a whole ranking system, and you kind of work your way up as, like, singers, like he says, which is kind of like, there's reverence to that, like, you're building up, like, a repertoire of, like, belief and everything. But for these people who are just taking care of prisoners, they also have that, like, they're there because of, like, they feel like they failed. That's crazy that they're using that kind of, like, mental logic to keep them working. Oh, wow.
Is generally a fairly nice person, always trying to help people and do the right thing. But even she has no sympathy for the Guardflies, and genuinely wants them all dead. She's like me with grubs. Given what can happen to Hornet during the events of Silksong, I can't really say that I'm surprised she feels this way.
Yeah.
Hornet
that
even
was a
hopes
great
that
moment.
killing the matriarch of the jailers, Broodmother, will end their race for good. But if she
Oh.
returns to the Broodmother arena, it turns out a new broodling has already appeared to carry on the species. But for some reason, the game won't let Hornet kill the baby. This is an example of ludonarrative dissidence. But these aren't the only bugs born into a special kind of service. The Squirm of the Blasted
Squirm, yeah.
Steppes were seemingly chosen by the Citadel to act as judges of the pilgrims approaching the Grand Gate. A lore tablet just outside a
Is this
Squirm
one?
nest reads, Bug born of Farloom, you have been chosen. May our Citadel's holy gilding harden your soft shell. Stand eternal as our arbiter, that no bug-bearing sin shall step within our sacred halls. If Hornet plays the needle in for the Squirm found here, they will beautifully sing, Let's grow holy. Let's grow stronger. We are chosen. All are chosen. We will serve. All will serve.
So they're the defenders out there? That's crazy.
It seems from birth these creatures are brainwashed by the Citadel into believing that they are doing holy work by
Hello, Snow Fox. Welcome. We completed the game today. This beginning of the stream, I defeated the lace fight, and we had the credits roll. And we are now, I'm reacting to Mossbag's lore video, which I'm now finding out a lot of stuff that I actually kind of missed. It's kind of wild. I apparently missed, like, a whole bug interaction in the slabs. But yeah, I'm just watching through these right now. This is fun. Well, welcome in, welcome in. Also, the dunce hat is me failing to defeat Lace last stream.
using a mallet to brutally bash in the heads of any pilgrim they happen to think is guilty of sin. Similarly, the Vaultborn, found in the Whispering Vaults, are literally raised in dark vaults and then forced to become scroll readers for the Vault Keepers. Unlike the Broodling,
Yeah, I didn't see
Hornet
that.
can kill the baby Squirm and Vaultborn, so hopefully Team Cherry will patch the game so you can actually kill this thing.
He just wants to kill him. You can mess a lot of things out without knowing. Yeah, apparently you miss a lot of different things. Yeah, I've so far I've only missed the slab thing. The rest I've kind of caught, but maybe misunderstood a little bit, and I don't mind that too much. I mean, I think it's all interpretation, but I kind of agree so far on most things here.
But the Citadel's system of cruelty didn't just stop with the borders of the Citadel itself. The bugs underneath also fell victim to its whims. One such area affected by the Citadel is Greymoor. According to Krull and Benjin, the two best characters in the game,
Of course.
Greymoor used to grow all sorts of food, but at some point the Citadel ordered these bugs to instead dedicate themselves to catching the silk dregs that drifted down from the Citadel and re-spool them. As a result, the bugs of
Oh,
Greymore had to resort to a less involved form of farming, breeding muck roaches for their disgusting roach guts. The
wow.
smog and exhaust of the Citadel was rerouted using the exhaust organ and dumped into current-day biowater, polluting the region and incurring the hatred of the Stillkin, a faction of swamp dwellers skilled in trap setting. Now, I know a lot of you watching
Makes
this
sense.
are huge fans of biowater, and
Everyone.
of course I am too,
Yeah.
but in the lore, the creation of biowater should be seen as a bad thing. The Citadel even turned on their
Yeah. Well, you got that at least. We knew that about everything. And we kind of stood, we at some point we did understand the whole silk tread thing, and that wasn't rain, that was actually silk falling. That was something we discussed a bit, but it just felt like it was rain too. I guess it makes sense though. That was like their job. They're catching it with those weird staffs, and then they go re-loom them back up. Okay, it makes sense. It makes sense.
own warriors. There
And that's
once
what
was an
caused the
order of
pollution.
pin-wielding maidens known as the Pinstresses. As the last remaining member of the cast, hidden away at the edge of the blasted steppes, explains, "Our Grand Citadel learnt well from the training of Pinteresses past. Then it went and turned those teachings
Interest.
upon us. Despite our superior skills, our numbers have always been few, and their strength overwhelmed. Of my once revered order, only 2 of us remain, wormed away in Farloom's forgotten corners, and my Pin sibling, she's lost herself to more peaceable pursuits. The only other living member, Seamstress, has given up her violent past, instead turning to stitching and sewing, but the decommissioned automaton near her home indicates that she was indeed a powerful warrior at some point.
Oh. Oh, there's a pin in it. That
A
makes
third
sense.
Pinstress can be found in the putrefied ducks, but she's long dead by the time Hornet finds her. It's not clear why the Citadel targeted these women. Perhaps their strength was viewed as a threat to the Citadel's order. I mean, who wouldn't be afraid of this absolute beast?
Yeah.
Bugs
was our-
from the Forge home were requested to relocate to the Deep Docks, under the promise of holy esteem from the Citadel. And bugs of the Deep Docks that were not fulfilling their duties were punished by 4 brothers Cygnus and Gron, although the extent of all this is unknown. The Citadel demanded everything they possibly could of these bugs, even trying to deny them death itself. A bulletin board located in a Ventrica station reads, "Due to unacceptably high injury and unsanctioned deaths, Ventrica travel shall henceforth be denied to all. For Farloom Eternal, a bug who serves must never die."
Yeah, that's wild. I have missed most dialogue in the game. You have? It's interesting because I think the context. I sometimes when we get to a certain dialogue in the game, I wouldn't have the full context to understand what it means. But like going through a video like this now, I'm like, okay, I'm looking back, and that makes a lot more sense. Like once you put it together, I'd almost feel like a secondary playthrough after knowing everything could connect the dots way more than going through and like trying to understand it. Because like the reference to sometimes they just say her, and that could mean the grandmother silk, it could mean the ant queen, and the stuff like I didn't even catch. But now I'm looking back like, oh yeah, that makes more sense because we defeated that boss and she was all about singing. You know, it's interesting.
The Citadel doesn't want its bugs to die, not out of any concern for the bugs themselves, but because dead bugs can't serve the Citadel.
Right.
All of the Citadel's cruelty was in service to continuing its song eternally. But what exactly is this song the Citadel is making pilgrims sing? And what does any of this have to do with Grandmother Silk?
So my theory on this is that the deities, and I think we learned from the first game too, that the deities have no power if they are not known, right? If they're not worshipped. Is not, I think that's correct. I think there's some level almost like if you know Final Fantasy stuff, that like there's like gods in that game, and they try to get worshippers, and the stronger they have more worshippers, they get stronger they get. And I think it's a similar thing for like these pale beings in some ways. At least to like the gaudy ones like this one. I feel like the song they're singing is to give power to Grandmother Silk. That's my theory. And then the Weavers, because I want to say something about them too. The Weavers were complacent on all this. They were making bells. They were getting everyone over here and like using them until they died because they thought themselves a higher being. And I think that's where the lines cross, because they found out that they were actually a hybrid. And it's weird because that's still kind of a selfish thing to be like, wait, but maybe they had some like also saw the evils they were bringing on many lives. That's a theory. Yeah, I feel like I'm interested in what this video's Moss Bag's gonna say in this video, but that's I feel like it's a level of like worshipness, because I believe the first game had a situation where if everyone forgot about the moth sun queen, that she would have died, but the text in the moth still lived, so she didn't. So it's like a level of like, if something could die in that like realm of God because people just forget, then having more people worship you, sing a song about you, or something like that to spread the word of you, then she's like a she's like a synonym to the Citadel, and worshiping the Citadel gives her power. I hate to say, but that song is to keep GMS asleep. Oh, you think? Wait, let's see.
None of these pilgrims even mention her. To answer these questions, we have to talk about the Citadel's true purpose.
Because that is an interesting thought, because we didn't actually know why she was sleeping up there. Okay, see, that makes sense, Snowfox. I didn't think about that detail. I thought she was just wanting to be asleep up there.
That of a cage. Maskmaker explains this for us in no uncertain terms. At one point, Hornet can say to him, "You speak of the Citadel. Its former function has failed, but I can still sense its purpose, some. It is church and cage both." To which Maskmaker replies, "Aye, devised by your ancestors, that monstrosity, and their wicked, clever minds. A system, or a web they'd likely call it. A way to keep their mother sealed in slumber."
I forgot about this dialogue. 100% forgot about this dialogue. Themselves. Okay, so literally the Weavers. Wow, I can't believe I missed this. I don't think I internalized that at all. Oh my god. Wait. So yeah, the singing was to keep it sleeping. Oh, dang. So really the enemies of this story, I think I painted in my head once we found those like lab factories of the Weavers, that they were rebelling against Grandmother Silk, and Grandmother Silk is the person who wanted everyone to work like they are, and to pretty much die. We actually don't know motivations from Grandmother Silk. I mean, even at the end of the game right there, she helped us escape, at least try to. So that's interesting. Okay. It's mad because the Weavers to keep her asleep. Yeah, she's just super mad because her kids pretty much. Yeah. And then Lace probably was trying to help Grandmother Silk like be freed or something, right? Because why would Grandmother Silk be so protective of her? Okay, I'm interested in all this. That's very interesting. I didn't internalize that very well.
And themselves free to lavish in their false rule. With this dialogue interaction, we know that the Citadel itself was actually a system devised by Hornet's ancestors,
Wow.
the Weavers, as a way to keep Grandmother Silk trapped in slumber. This is alluded to in the poem displayed at the beginning of the game, Farloom's Folly. The poem reads, "They see your beauty, so frail and fine. They see your peace, woven of faith and toil. They forget your heart, bound in slumber and servitude. When you wake, they shall see your truth, a beast's nature bare to all."
Oh. Oh damn. I don't think I internalized this as well, but it's talking about the whole Citadel system. And then they're talking directly to like to see a beast's natures. So, oh man. I hope there is something I missed on why the Weavers feel so hurt by Grandmother Silk, because Grandmother Silk gives them life. They are a hybrid of two things. I think they might just be, back at lack of a better term, butthurt that they're not full pale beings, right? I think they are, and that gives them also reason to go to the other realm and pretty much have a Hornet be born because half pale being. Okay, interesting. This is painting Weavers way worse than I was immediately thinking in my head.
This poem is specifically about the relationship between the inhabitants of Farloom and Grandmother Silk. The first line describes how the bugs of Farloom perceive Grandmother Silk's beauty. This might be referring to her silk, or the fact that Grandmother Silk fuels the existence of the Citadel. The second line emphasizes that Grandmother Silk is only a piece due to the faith and toil displayed by the bugs of the Citadel. The third line states that Grandmother Silk is bound in slumber and servitude. We can see this clearly when visiting the cradle at the top of the citadel. Grandmother Silk can be found here, sleeping inside a giant cocoon of silk. Underneath this cocoon, we can see that several strands of silk have been pulled out in parallel. The bugs of the citadel have constructed a giant loom to extract the precious silk from their sleeping monarch. They have even made this image of the cocoon inside a crook the symbol of their entire kingdom. But the last two lines of Farloom's Folly tell us that Grandmother Silk's subjugation won't last forever.
I never connected that this was a loom. That's wild. They were... So what I thought it was Grandmother Silk sending silk down to control people, and that's what the sickness was. Everyone was being controlled by it, which I think is what happened. But I thought she planted those silk things. I think actually what happened is it started from them trying to harvest the silk. Oh my gosh, that's wild. Liz, welcome. Welcome. The game. Wait, I can't read that fully. Why can't I read that fully? 1 second. I'm having... Wait, what's up? Here we go. To a game, well done. Thank you. I've completed it. Isn't it crazy? I'm completing a game. Okay, what are you doing, game? Hold up. We're struggling. I'm not a reaction YouTuber yet. So I'm struggling. I want to make this big screen on my left screen, but it's not wanting to. 1 second. There we go. Now I can read chat. My gosh, that took a bit. Yeah, but we completed the game. Yay! We're reacting to a Mossbag's like lore video right now, Liz. There were some things I missed. I never found the freaking guy in the slab, Liz. I never found the guy, which is crazy. Man. Aw, thanks, Liz. I appreciate that. But yeah, also, I didn't know this is a loom. That's crazy. I'm gonna keep watching.
And once she awakens, the bugs of Farloom will have to face her true, beastly form. Huh. I wonder if this will be important later.
Which guy? There are a few guys. There is a guy who is in one of the jail cells that the Mossbag video mentions. What is... I don't know what's going on with my screen right now. Is the stream being weird? Oh no, I'm just really far behind on it. I see. So yeah, there's a guy in the slab that he's like a bigger guy, and it says, "You want to be freed?" And he's like, "I'm not gonna be freed." I never ran into that cell. I never, admittedly, out of everywhere, the slab had some weird little like entrances and exits that I didn't know where. You have to play music for him to appear. I had no idea. That's crazy. Yeah. Definitely easy for me to miss. Not a huge deal. I don't mind learning through it from this point of view, but yeah, I thought that was funny.
It seems this slumber was achieved through the song sung by the pilgrims of the Citadel. Inside the Whispering Vaults, Hornet can find the corpse of the Vault's pontiff, accompanied by a sacred psalm cylinder, a device containing the melody of the Vault Keepers.
Right.
Vault Keeper Cardenius explains, "Only our pontiff lived long and low within our vault. They held the melody, jealously, covetously, a learning for the highest Vault Keeper, and them alone. A truth they were told to have found, there in the dark, something within the melody or the words, something to set them silent. We're never explicitly told what that melody contains, but playing the needle in near the pontiff's corpse reveals the following messages.
Oh.
Damned bugs. We prayed a cage. We sang your chains. Divine silk. This is...
Oh. Wow. Okay. Damned bugs. Taking the bugs that come through Farloom. They pray for a cage. So their prayer is caging Grandmother Silk. Sang for the chains. And then they harvest divine silk. What an interesting thing. His hat looks like yours. Yes, yes. I'm just a vault keeper.
This indicates that the songs and prayers of the Citadel were actually designed to imprison Grandmother Silk. And this truth was hidden from the bugs of the Citadel. This appears to be corroborated by the Weaver lore tablet located near the Weaver corpse spire in Moss Home, which reads, Sister, Spider, husk bound to moss, watch over these bugs born low, raised up by fervor fostered, born and caught within our web unknowing.
So, okay, this is where I think my picture was being painted of Weavers not being so bad, right? There must be a turmoil between Weavers, right? Because if Weavers created this system of taking advantage of these lower bugs. Wait a minute. Wait 1 second. My camera's going crazy. 1 second. Okay, there we go. Sorry. The new webcam, it's looking for my hands to do things, and I'm not used to that. Yeah, so I feel like the Weavers here, doesn't this feel like they feel bad? Like, born and caught within our web unknowing. Doesn't that feel like remorse? I don't know. That's why I felt like they were rebelling against the Grandmother Silk who was causing this. So I'm a little confused.
The Pilgrims weren't even aware of Grandmother Silk's existence. Instead, it was the Weavers that were seen as holy. Weaver effigies found throughout the land show that the Pilgrims prayed to the Weavers, viewing them as graceful, blessed, and even divine. Even by the time Hornet arrives in Farloom, massive burial spires dedicated to the Weaver corpses can still be found, with plaques built by the Pilgrims stating that they offer song to the Weavers eternal. Even some of the inhabitants of the Citadel hold deference to Hornet, referring to her as a first child. But why exactly did the Weavers turn on
a first child? Yeah, I do remember them saying that. But the GMS enslaved the widow. Grandmother Silk enslaved widow. Yeah.
Grandmother Silk in the first place? Was she just a really callous and cruel monarch, similar to Lord Farquaad in the 2001 hit film Shrek 1? Our best glimpse into what life looked like for the Weavers while living under Grandmother Silk is from the memory of Widow, the only Weaver still alive in Farloom by the start of the game.
Widow, yeah, okay, so the grandmother enslaved widow. I forgot there was a living Weaver. I forgot about Widow.
After defeating her, we see a memory of the Weavers playing harps as Grandmother Silk watches over them. The following dialogue then appears on screen. For her light, eternal, our song sustains. We know that Grandmother Silk does want song, as the Silk Heart memory in Whiteward says the following lines. Their voices, their song, to devote, eternal. They are ours, bound forever. So before the Citadel, the Weavers had to sustain song for the monarch eternally. The Weavers must have felt trapped in this system and decided to create the Citadel, using a new song to put Grandmother Silk to sleep and enthrall the Pilgrims of Farloom in their fake religion. Through this action, the Weavers not only obtained freedom from sustaining the eternal song, but they also came to perceive themselves as the rulers of Farloom. The heart.
Oh. So I really didn't connect that. Okay. So that was like prequel showing right there of the Weavers having to sit in front of a harp and play music for the god, for Grandmother Silk. So she required that of them, but instead they were playing Minecraft and decided to make an automatic system to farm skeletons, and then that automatic farming played music for the god and gave them a lot of free time. They industrialized music. Okay. Play.
Harps the Weavers first played the Eternal Song on for Grandmother Silk can still be found in the cradle, fallen completely into disuse. A thread memory of Widow can be found here, likely because she is the only Weaver still loyal to Grandmother Silk, but we'll talk about her more later. Okay. Aside from Widow, another Weaver Hornet sort of meets is a being known as First Sinner. This Weaver's lore is also very difficult to make sense of, but seems relevant to our current discussion. First Sinner can be found locked away in a cage sealed with runes. Inside the cage, a Weaver corpse can be found. She offers to bind her strength to Hornets, but unlike the other corpses, this action actually awakens First Sinner, who tries to murder Hornet. However, this fight appears to take place in some kind of memory, as opposed to in real life, since dying in this fight doesn't spawn a cocoon. So it seems First Sinner is just a memory here, not actually alive. If First Sinner is defeated, Hornet witnesses a memory from her revealing the true nature of the Weavers. It seems Grandmother Silk actually evolved the Weavers from Farlids, common bugs found in Farloom. First Sinner reflects on this revelation saying, "She called us daughters. She called us divine. She lied." Hornet even mentions that the Farlids remind her of herself in some way. First Sinner's rage seems to be a mixture of feeling cursed with silk given to her by Grandmother Silk and being cursed to know the truth of her nature.
Right.
We also know she had the power to weave silk into blazing runes, which she uses extensively in her fight.
Yes, she does.
As a side note, in the game's code and concept art for First Sinner, she is referred to as First Weaver. So perhaps First Sinner remembers the truth about the Weaver's origins because she was the first Farlid to ever be transformed.
Oh, that's cool. So, oh, damn. I mean, to change the name to First Sinner is almost like a mock as well. Is like you were the first Weaver, and maybe they like she had some like level of appreciation through like the other Weavers because she's the first one. She's our oldest. She's she has a lot more. She's just the wisest, right? And then for her to betray on them, they start calling her the First Sinner. So almost like that's the secondary name. I know that's not really what it said. It's saying that it's changed the name at some point, but I almost feel like that could be like a level of like how that happened too in the game story.
So why was First Sinner locked up? The tablet placed over the cage says the following: Penitent, first of the first, guilty of the sin of apostasy, penance by constriction, absolution denied. One possibility is that First Sinner is the catalyst that set off the Weavers turning against Grandmother Silk. Perhaps she was imprisoned by Grandmother Silk for calling her a liar and revealing her secret, and this convinced the other Weavers to turn on her too.
That also is to say, okay, this is weird, but if Grandmother Silk punished the first Weaver, doesn't that mean the slab existed? That there was already a system in place of a cathedral and a slab? Or is the slab older than the cathedral entirely? You know what I mean? Isn't there some kind of weird timing thing there? Because in my head, after listening to this, I was thinking the Weavers created the whole cathedral and the slab system. There must have been some kind of combination like that. The Grandmother Silk wanted them to create some kind of thing for her, right? And then they started creating it, but on the low end of it, on the top end, it was all just pretty church. On below, but it was actually a system to make it run by itself so they don't have to keep singing. I don't know.
At one point, First Sinner mentions, our Silk, our rage, perhaps implying that she led the first resistance group against Grandmother Silk. This interpretation gives us a good motive for why the Weavers turned on Grandmother Silk, but I have a few issues with it. We are told the Citadel was devised by the Weavers, and describing First Sinner as a penitent feels very much in line with the Citadel. They are the ones who came up with the entire Faith and Toil system, not Grandmother Silk. Second, if Grandmother Silk chained up First Sinner, why is she still chained up now?
Okay, so yeah. It's the same thing I was saying. The Grandmother Silk didn't have... The things were not there in place for her to be locked up. So really the Weavers turned on this one. The slab is separated from the Citadel. It is separated. I didn't know the whole song part. Oh yeah, I didn't know that either. With like them having to play the harp for the Grandmother Silk. But this is going back to the thing saying that it may have been Weavers that did that, Weaver on Weaver violence instead of everything else. My thoughts right now, just hearing that, just to try to extrapolate and probably where this video is going, is that there was one side of Weavers who were taking advantage of bugs, making this whole system take advantage of bugs, and then the other side saying, we are not divine. We are like these bugs. Why are we abusing them? We have a connection to them. We're on the wrong side in a way. And I feel like she was locked up because of that, right? And to Curse to know that they are actually more connected and not divine. I feel like this is more Weaver on Weaver violence.
Why wasn't she freed or given a proper burial? Third, we see the Citadel sigil, the silk cocoon, on the cage itself, further supporting that this cage was created by the Citadel.
Right, yeah.
I think it makes more sense to say First Sinner was imprisoned by her fellow Weavers. In this case, the sin of apostasy committed by First Sinner was claiming the Weavers weren't divine.
Right.
This revelation would have been devastating to the Weavers' control of Farloom. They needed to be seen as divine by the Pilgrims, so they decided to seal First Sinner away, regardless of whether or not they even believed her. I think this explanation ties in better with the information we have to work with.
Yeah.
As for the our rage line, It seems First Sinner is mimicking a lot of the dialogue found near other Weaver corpses. All the other Weavers say, "Our silk, our memory," not "our rage." First Sinner also calls Farloom accursed instead of haunted, and she kind of lies to Hornet about letting her bind her. So I think some of First Sinner's dialogue can be explained by her being a bit deceiving, compared to her sisters, who are a bit more straightforward about what they want from Hornet.
Huh. If that's the truth, why is she the only one? If that's the truth, why is she... Oh, wait, you said the same thing. Okay, yeah. I think she was the first to start saying it, and I think that others started following it. I think it slowly Weavers didn't defend her. That because it's easy for a majority to be like, well, that will destroy our leadership here, and to be afraid of that. And one of them, I almost feel like there should be a Weaver that is kind of the main antagonist in this like old story that decided to kill that for one, to lock that Weaver away, and then the others maybe slowly realized a bad idea. I'm really wondering, now that I'm kind of knowing this, the little parts of Weaver refugees and stuff we learned in all the weird labs we found, if there's more discourse between the Weavers that I never caught.
Alternatively, our rage could imply other Weavers joined First Sinner's anger, but were also imprisoned by the Weavers running the Citadel. Overall, I think First Sinner's fate is a reflection of just how far the Weavers will go to cling onto their rule of Farloom. They would much rather imprison one of their own kin than admit the fact that they aren't divine beings. Perhaps that was the only choice they had to keep the web of the Citadel from collapsing. Regardless, it seems the Weaver's reign over the Citadel was not destined to last. We know at some point control of the Citadel was handed over to the Citadel bugs. Conductor Balador...
The first means that she's not the only one. That's true, but it depends on what the first is referencing to. Is the first Weaver? There's multiple Weavers, right? Or the first one who was punished? Because her name, she is the first Weaver. So the first could also be a title, and not just saying that it's more punishment to come along too. So I don't know.
Balador tells us this explicitly when he says, "The mantle of rule, claimed greedily from Farloom's fading first children, those bitter Weavers. It was yoke, not crown." In Balador's possession is a rune harp, an ancient Weaver recording instrument containing the last words of the Weavers, which reads, "Sisters, spiders, the burden is past. These simple bugs shall bear it in full. Never to cease, never to silence. We shall die and wait and pray that one may come of silken strength enough to weave us free." This record and Balador's comments tell us that running the Citadel was a difficult task, and at some point the Weavers decided to flee Farloom. In the lower lands of Farloom, Hornet can find strange gates barring access to various weave nests. In these weave nests, it seems the Weavers schemed against Grandmother Silk. In Weave Nest Atla in Moss Grotto, Hornet can find a lore tablet that reads, "This low her gaze escaped. Prepare, sisters, weave hope anew, that we might break free this accursed web born of our naive foundation." It seems at some point during their rule, it became clear to the Weavers that they could not keep Grandmother Silk trapped in slumber using song forever. Instead, they would have to devise a new plan to deal with her. One such plan was Eva, also found in Weave Nest Atla. Eva is a strange being confined to live her life within an iron shell. She is a child of the Weavers, but created from rune and shell instead of more traditional methods. There are two other aspects regarding the nature of Weavers I have yet to mention. First of all, it seems there are only female Weavers, considering they always refer to each other saying sisters. This is similar to how all Labubus are female. So that's pretty cute.
What the hell? Okay, so that does explain. Okay, they create a system that keeps her asleep. Now, oh, I did the thing again. 1 second. Now, I'm so I'm so not used to having the webcam like control like that. Sorry. So they make a system that is fueled by itself in faith that's going to keep pulling people in, and then using them to keep it functioning, right? So that was all just to build an automation of what they need to do to keep Grandmother Silk asleep. Because that's what she wanted, apparently. She wanted to sleep. She was kept being songs sung to her to just sleep. So they made that automated. Then they were like, this is not going to last forever. Things will break down. Things will happen. So my guess is they leaved that nest and went to the hollow nest, and they were trying plans of ways to destroy her, which, a Hornet kind of did. So, what am I planning to play after Silksong? I don't know. I think what I'm right now on my list is Planet Crafter. I think I might go back to play Planet Crafter again, and do a hardcore run of Planet Crafter. That's kind of where my head's at. I was hoping to do that last week, actually, but I ran out of time on trying to get grounded stuff done. All right, let's keep going.
Second, weavers are born with a curse that makes the act of conceiving a child excruciatingly painful, rendering it a near impossible task. I was unable to find any information on if conceiving a child is excruciatingly painful for Labubus, unfortunately. As someone who also finds the act of getting pregnant extremely difficult himself, I relate a lot to the weavers here. I suspect this aspect of their nature is due to Grandmother Silk, and the idea that she made them like this supports the idea that she only ever wanted the weavers so they could serve her. Right. You might wonder why the weavers created such a cruel system with a citadel, but it seems they didn't have the best role model. But not all weavers were doomed to be barren. Horn explains to Eva that her mother was able to overcome the curse's limits, which sounds impressive until you remember there are dozens of little weavers running all over Deep Nest and Hollow Knight.
Right.
Hopefully Team Cherry will explain exactly what's going on with these things, because as of right now, it makes me uncomfy. The weavers weren't too happy with their creation though. A rune harp found in Weaveness Atla reads, "Hide her deep, the despised child, our shame shown in shell of iron. She is a wish cast vain, divinity mimicked in form too frail."
I think weavers are just real bad. I think they're just kind of mean, because I think that the memory of Hornet too also shows us that they wanted her to weave like them, and she was still a child and couldn't, and they all slowly lost faith except her mother. And I still stand by, I think her mother isn't full weaver. I think there is a mix to the beast. I think that's why they called her the beast, right? I think I thought in the first game that there were weavers and then the beast was the queen there, but I thought the beast was also the like mixture between bugs that exists in Hollow Nest and a weaver. I don't know how that happens. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there's any evidence for that, but I remember thinking that playing the game, and I don't know why. And that's where I'm like, okay, I don't know, because he's talking about how they were trying to propagate,
It seems Eva was an attempt by the weavers to create a divine being capable of usurping Grandmother Silk, but she failed to be the powerful being they had hoped for. This is similar to the events depicted in the hit film Shrek 2, where Shrek and
also just the Shrek 2 stuff, but also then that weaver, the beast, did have a baby with the pale king, so they clearly could, but maybe they needed a species. I don't know. Maybe she's just an extremely fat weaver. She could just be an extremely fat weaver, but maybe they needed a pale being because that was technically like half their species. I don't know.
Company created the giant gingerbread man, Mongo, who also tragically suffered from his form being too frail for the task assigned to him.
Yes.
Another attempt by the weavers to stop the awakening of Grandmother Silk was through the creation of the snare setter. One can be found in Weaveness Atla, and needle and dialogue observable there shows the weavers hoped it could be used to keep them free. Eva explains the purpose of the snare setter more plainly. Small things, but tests for larger forms. I still remember their thoughts as they worked, their desperation and their hunger. Another hopeless attempt to wrest their freedom. All ended in failure, of course. In Weaveness Merglin in Bilewater, a lore tablet mentions that the weaver's silk will wane at some point, perhaps indicating that the weavers knew their power was fading.
Oh.
The strangest place a weave nest can be found is deep below Farloom in the Abyss. The Abyss in Farloom is very similar to the one found in Hallownest. It features the same void tendrils, a lake of void, and massive spires. There's even hints of the ancient civilization here too. At one point, Hornet refers to the void as being below all things, perhaps indicating that no matter where you are in the world of Hollow Knight, if you go down far enough, you'll find the abyss.
It definitely
In
seems
Weave
like
Nest
that's the case.
Absalom, there is evidence of the Weavers researching the void. A rune depicting the void tendrils can be found, and it seems the Weavers were able to collect void within glass jars.
Oh, wow.
But it doesn't seem like the Weavers went much further with any of their void experiments, as nothing here seems to have been used against Grandmother Silk at all. In fact, it doesn't seem like any of these traps or mechanisms worked. The only thing left the Weavers could do was flee. In Weave Nest Syndrol in Farfields, hidden in a secret room, Hornet can find a map depicting pathways out of Farloom. The nearby rune harp reads, "Flee, sisters. Flee until your strength exhausts. So far you may escape at last her silken sight. To start anew, to sustain, free of web and service eternal." So to briefly summarize, it seems at some point during their rule, the Weavers realized they couldn't keep Grandmother Silk in slumber indefinitely. Whether that was because they weren't bringing in enough pilgrims, or because of their own waning silk, or because 90% of the bugs in this kingdom can't sing for shit.
Okay, yeah, maybe it was that. Maybe it wasn't working well. But didn't it work up to a long time? Like, didn't we wake up Grandmother Silk? I guess, no, actually. She woke up at some point and started the whole, like, sickness thing. And then she also created lace. What's weird is Grandmother Silk really loved lace, like, as a daughter. So it makes me think that maybe she thought that she did kind of mess up with the Weavers and was like, I should make a true born daughter because that I didn't do that and that's what failed me this time. I don't know.
It was clear something had to be done. The Weavers experimented with creating their own god, but that didn't work. They tried to construct a tool to bind Grandmother Silk tight, but that also failed. So ultimately the Weavers decided to flee Farloom. The only problem was that doing so would end the Citadel's song, hastening Grandmother Silk's awakening. To combat this, the Weavers decided to hand the Citadel over to the bugs themselves,
Right.
tricking them with a technique we in the crypto space call a rug pull. Despite their flight, the Weavers didn't entirely lose hope. It seems the Weavers prayed for one of silken strength to one day come and free them from their web. A few Weavers even stayed behind so that they could help this savior should they ever make their way to Farloom. The Weavers also left servitors to watch over their weave nests and await their return. By the time Hornet arrives in Farloom, it seems there are three main factions in charge of running the place: the Conductors, the Vault Keepers, and the Architects.
So they let the control go to them. Okay. I never considered that. So the Weavers, it makes sense though, because they did leave to go to the Hollow Nest, and that's how Hornet's story begins. But so yeah, okay. And then some of them stayed to try to help this, but they still gave control to, I wonder how many Weavers there are. I wish we had a number.
The game isn't exactly clear when these different factions took shape within the Citadel. It appears they've been around since before the Weavers left, given that both Vaultkeeper Cardinius and the 12th Architect seem well aware of the Weavers. These three factions were also given the threefold melody, which pilgrims needed to reach the cradle. The Conductors seem to have the most responsibility, declaring edicts, sanctioning projects, and even getting directly involved with various experiments within the Citadel. They also seem to be in the know about the Citadel's true purpose as a cage for Grandmother Silk, giving Conductor Romano's incredibly ominous poem, Farloom's Folly, as well as Conductor Ballador's possession of that one extremely incriminating rune harp. This knowledge seemed to weigh heavy on the Conductors. Ballador questions if he would have ever accepted the duty if he had known the cost. And of course, Conductor Romano's poem seems to indicate a sense of disdain for the Citadel. While we never see Conductor Romano in-game, we do see a Conductor's mask all the way on the edge of Farloom. Whether this was Romano's mask or not, it seems one Conductor chose to flee Farloom for good instead of bearing the mantle of rule.
Wow. That's a cool little note. I would have never noticed that was a connecting. And also that they were full leaderships. I didn't actually consider the Conductors to be like what do you call it, like when the king leaves and it's almost like a temporary leader, but they had this like handed down leadership, and then they found out what the whole thing was leading up to. I wonder if they saw the cruelty of the Citadel as a means to the end. Because when your whole system is taking advantage of the poor bugs, but the alternative is to turn off that system and then let a pale being god be really mad at everything and kill everything, is also kind of a bad option too. It kills everyone. I mean, and technically she does kind of kill everyone, and she kind of takes control of everyone. Admittedly, they're not all dead. Like the system, eh, she takes control and makes them keep working too. I don't know.
I'll be honest, I'm sure being a conductor isn't the easiest job in the world, but it's gotta be better than being the guy who has to feed maggot gruel to muck roaches all day.
Yeah.
It's gotta be an order of magnitude more difficult, I swear. The Vault Keepers were charged with guarding the secrets of the Citadel. The scroll readers spent their entire lives reading and memorizing prayer scrolls. They also kept psalm cylinders of various prayer songs that could be played back using the proper equipment. From Vault Keeper Cardenius' dialogue, it seems the Vault Keepers viewed the acquisition of knowledge as a way to transcend their own minds and bodies. Vault Keeper Cardenius is also interesting in that he really hates the Weavers, calling them cursed and implying that they bring death wherever they go. So it's possible the Vault Keepers were aware of some nefarious deeds done by the Weavers during their rule. But Chakra also calls them vicious, so it's possible the views on Weavers changed all over Farloom after they left. The architects seem tasked with maintaining the Citadel itself, creating the cogwork core, as well as developing new technologies for the Citadel to use.
It's interesting that that's the case, though. What cruelty did they do? Because they were worshipped as goddesses, pretty much. They let control shift. What happened in between then? They probably let them know what the system is for. But the common bug didn't, and there's still bugs going up to and not knowing that that's what the whole system was for. That's weird. I mean, I do think Weavers are cruel, though, from everything they did. But maybe some of that knowledge is just known after they left control of it.
Much of their craft is owed to the tools created by the Weavers themselves. And similar to the Weavers, it seems the architects were also interested in creating life. The first architect designed the first cogwork heart, which was used in the Sentinels, an order of knights that served the Citadel. According to the 12th architect, the Sentinels ventured, even beyond these walls, to see all bugs brought forced safe to serve the Citadel.
Interesting.
The use of the word forced here kind of makes me think the Sentinels were kidnapping bugs to work in the Citadel, but the Sentinel we meet in game is pretty nice, so I really don't want to believe that they did something kind of problematic like kidnapping. But it wasn't just the Sentinel robots that the architects created. The numerous Cogworks enemies that populate the core of the Citadel also owe their construction to the architects. But the source of their power seems to come from somewhere else. Whenever one of these machines is destroyed, these strange white flies escape from...
Okay. Are we going to find out that actually the civilians, or not civilians at this point, but the leaderships after the Weavers decided to make these things? Because that stuff is terrible. I knew that there was some nefarious stuff going on from the way they helped us out, these little flies, to be escaped in the beginning, to like people trapping them. I always wanted to free them too. It just that's why you can't die in this game, is because you have to be turned into this.
From their shells.
Like if you were a
These flies are never directly referenced by anyone in game, but in the files they are called silk flies. And these things show up all over Farloom.
They are directly talked about because they are made in the surgeon area.
But where exactly do they come from? I believe the answer to that question can be found in the White Ward, a sub-area of the Citadel that provided the setting for horrible experiments. It's here where bugs of the Citadel had silk injected directly into their shells. It seems this was done to extend the life of the bugs. The caretaker explains. Just think of them greedily shoving the silk into their shells. The madness that overcame them. Eternal life for mortal bugs. The Citadel's reasoning for this can be explained.
That also explains why the conductor had silk at his bed. He is extending his life by shoving silk into their shells. It's like a a way to extend their life. Very interesting.
By a lore tablet found within White Ward that says, Oath of the White Ward. While song must be sung, none may falter. Infirmary, sickness, death, all are banished from our citadel. In other words, the citadel couldn't afford to lose bugs to death because they needed to continue singing the song, keeping Grandmother Silk in slumber. If bugs did die, their bodies were cremated so the silk could be recovered. This process of recycling silk over and over again caused the wills and pain of these bugs to live on through the silk, trapped in a state of torture even after death. But
That sucks. Oh my god.
it seems the bugs of the White Ward went even further with their experiments. It seems the silk flies, found inside of the Cogworks bugs, were also created here. Inside White Ward, we can find a strange device, referred to as a silk siphon within the game's code. Huddled around this device are these silk flies. We can also see silk flies trapped inside this container, and an identical container can be found in the center of the silk siphon. One of these containers can also be found on the ground next to the 12th architect.
Oh, damn. Caught in 4K. They brought those over there for them to put a ghost in the shell, so to speak. Oh my god.
Playing the needle in the silk siphon room reveals the following dialogue. One line in particular is interesting to me. To serve, beyond shell.
So I'm happy that I figured this out while we were playing, because it tells you, but you do have to think about it a bit, and I really appreciate that we ran across that by ourselves and didn't just like, oh wait, that happened. I feel like it's what happened with the slab thing for me.
To the right of this room is a chamber filled with hundreds of corpses.
God, I had a dunce
A
out.
choral commandment can be found at the end of the room, which reads, Bug of voice grown hoarse or shell fallen frail, you have been selected for duty most sacred. Become our light, our guide in darkness, that others worthy may climb to join the holy song.
Jesus.
So it seems the Citadel was transforming the silk-infused souls of bugs into silk flies that could be used to provide light for the kingdom of Farloom, as well as power the various automatons working within the core. Even massive constructs like the fourth chorus.
I never connected that. I knew that there was flies coming out of there, but I'd never thought about that. That's crazy. Now we're only at half of this video. Oh my god, I'm going so slow. I should go through it longer. Have a good night. Going to sleep. Well, good night, Snowfox. Thanks for joining for a bit. Good night. Oh no, I did it again. Now the fam camera's gonna follow me. Here we go. So, yeah, let's just keep going.
Release several dozen silk flies when they're destroyed. Given the silk flies seen on the 12th architect's corpse after they die, it seems the architects were also powered by silk flies. The only exception to this I found is the Cogwork Dancers, which we know were created not from the soul of a Farloom bug, but from the soul of one of the princes of Verdania.
Yeah.
When speaking to the Green Prince after defeating the Cogwork Dancers, Hornet says, his soul is now free from that shell of iron. It seems weavers were still in Farloom when the silk flies were created, since we can see a few of them in Weavenest Atla. We can even see some of them in the Carmelita memory, so it seems they've been around for a long, long time.
Well, there's also silk flies in the first game, no? So there must be a natural process to silk flies in the world, but that was an artificial way of creating them.
We know that
Lost souls, more or less. I think it's lost souls. Although I do think the first game is fireflies, but I would bet a lot of money that there were silk flies we ran across in that game. I'm pretty sure. They were mostly fireflies, but I believe there were silk flies too. Maybe I'm wrong.
some things change throughout the lifespan of the Citadel, but it can be difficult to track down exactly when these changes took place. For example, in one section of the Citadel, there's an unused statue base. The statue that used to be here was likely Pius Issamore, who was at some point hidden away within the Whispering Vaults. Pius Issamore mentions that the Citadel is built from simple stone, bare and unadorned, but that is certainly not the case by the time Hornet arrives in Farloom.
Yeah.
So when did these changes happen? Pius Issamore does mention that the Citadel was bequeathed to the bugs by the Weavers. Bequeathing can mean to give something, but it also has a sense of handing something down.
Okay. So that lays a foundation of like the Citadel wasn't like, oh wow, okay. Weird. Does that mean that the cruelty? No. I was gonna say maybe the cruelty was built on the bugs that led it after the weavers, but no, I think them having silk flies in the their factories doesn't let that happen. So I think they had part in that. But it's weird that it's saying that it was an adorned stone. That's weird. Hmm.
So it's possible the gilding of the Citadel didn't take place until after the Weavers gave control of it over to the Citadel bugs. But the wording is vague, and I don't get the sense that the Citadel bugs would necessarily be more interested in turning the Citadel into some gilded, shining city than the Weavers were. One big change that almost definitely took place after the Weavers left was the completion of the Citadel core, which seems to be referenced in the last edict of the conductors, which reads, "And lo, is eternity sustained. By Architect's Claw, we welcome that final form of dial and rotor, and soul gladly given. The perfect, unfaltering voice. The cogwork core is a massive structure of cogs and shafts in the middle of the Citadel. We know from the 12th architect that the core was built to sustain the song. The core is filled with cylinders with pips on them, similar to what you would see in a music box. And we know from the Cogwork Clapper journal entry that there are bells and cymbals within the depth of the core. And at the very top of the core are rows of statues capable of producing song. So basically, the act of sustaining the eternal song could be done automatically using the core. Even the maintenance could be done by the Cogwork automatons. This might even explain why the elevator at the entrance to the Citadel goes down into the underworks instead of up into the Citadel proper. If pilgrims aren't needed to sing the eternal song anymore, they can just be directed down into the underworks.
Oh, I never connected that. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, wow. Okay. So the Weavers made a citadel where actual living bugs had to continuously sing. Then these guys took control and actually automated the process using soul so that would be consistently be singing. Wow, okay. That's wild. Okay.
It seems this was the final state of the Citadel under the rule of the conductors. Bugs were either toiling away in the underworks, locked away in the slab, or trapped as silk flies inside the cogwork shells created by the architects. The bugs themselves were replaced by the cogwork core, so not only was the religion itself fake, but the ones doing the worshipping were fake as well.
Wow, yeah. So that is wild, actually. Everything was fake. And that makes sense as a solution, right? Because, like, when the control went to the bugs, they were like, well, this is kind of fake anyway. Like, this whole religion we thought we were singing in faith is actually just to keep this freaking being up there asleep. Why don't we just give it a fake song? And I guess they did.
The Citadel's promise truly was an empty one. As the caretaker puts it, inside and out, it's nothing but a grand gilded lie. And despite all the harsh schemes devised by both the Weavers and the Citadel cast, Grandmother Silk continued to awaken from her slumber. Conductor Balador admits to Hornet that this outcome was inevitable, saying, "The mantle of rule, claimed greedily from Farloom's fading first children, those bitter weavers. It was yoke, not crown. Now in our Citadel silence, we share their truth. Only one monarch's claw ever clutched this kingdom, though we raised our voices to cry otherwise." The Citadel cast was finally forced to face the same reality the Weavers had. Even in her subjugation, Grandmother Silk was still the only true power in Farloom. Right. At this point, it seems the Citadel finally fell silent, with only the automated cogwork core left capable of sustaining the song. But it wasn't enough. We aren't exactly sure when this happened, but at some point the land of Farloom became haunted by Grandmother Silk. Her threads reached down from the top of the kingdom, starting with the bugs in the Citadel, and eventually reaching all the way down to lower Farloom, binding the bugs of the land to her will. These threads can be seen occasionally when bugs are defeated, as well as when Hornet plays her needle in near them. But what exactly does the haunting do to these bugs? At the top of the marrow, Hornet can discover a mysterious building. Inside, a grunting bug and strange squelching sounds can be heard.
Yeah, I remember this.
An operating table can be found in this room as well. It seems a bug obsessed with the haunting started cutting into bugs to examine the effects of the haunting itself.
Oh.
This bug, known as the Learned Pilgrim, was actually going to have their own quest but was ultimately cut from the game. But their
Oh,
findings
I was wondering about that because I remember hearing that, and then we went up there and there was nothing up there, and it was really confusing to me. Huh.
can still be found written down on a lore tablet, which starts, "In the air, the water, everywhere. After generations and generations of using silk, Farlum has become covered in silk dregs. This can be seen most clearly in the Citadel." The tablet continues, "Inside their shells, twisted inside, guts, tightest around heart, pulsing rhythm. The silk has even made its way into the shells of bugs, wrapping itself around their very hearts. The presence of silk here is likely due to the experiments of the White Ward. Hornet and the Caretaker come to the conclusion that the threads implanted into the pilgrims from the experiments there would be carried down into their offspring, making the bugs of Farlum even more susceptible to the haunting.
Oh, shit. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. And that's why there's some bugs that are affected and some bugs that weren't. They weren't from this land. And also, maybe they just didn't have experiments on. And if we think about the king guy and the guy who took control, the what do you call it, the conductor, he still had control of himself, so he probably had no experiments on him. But clearly they experimented on other conductors, considering all the fights that we had.
The tablet finishes, "Sick, alive, dead? Something worse. Deeper. Must look deeper." The haunting doesn't just enslave the wills of living bugs, but it can also reanimate bugs that have already died.
Right, yeah, we've seen this.
Allowing Grandmother Silk to puppet them from above. Under the haunting, bugs long dead rose to their feet to mindlessly continue the tasks they had in life.
So this makes sense too, that there is still weaving happening after Grandmother Silk gets sunken into the void, meaning that the fights we had with ooh, hello, full moon, welcome. Let me read your comment here. Hey, dude, it's me still on Silksong. I just finished today, full moon. The first 30 minutes of our stream, I finished Lace and beat the boss, and now I'm watching a video on the lore because I thought that would be a fun thing to do that was suggested last stream. So yeah, we're about halfway through this video. It's from Mossbag. But what I was saying is that the puppeting didn't stop after she went into the void, and I wonder if that's because she wanted to cause mayhem for us to come down there and save Lace. Right? I'm really interested in what the DLC is going to show us.
Pavo, from Belhart, who was caught in threads in a similar way to the haunting, describes the experience as not particularly comfortable, saying, "It is difficult, upsetting even to think. Strange, sad memories, not my own, and my own thoughts smothered amidst the tangle. If one could choose to connect themselves to something grander, that curse may seem a wonder. For myself, it now seems a horror."
And we even had that experience ourselves because we slept there one day.
According to the dialogue from the Silkar Memory and White Ward, it seems Grandmother Silk is seeking union with the bugs of Farlum.
I mean, tell me about the first game again.
So it makes sense that foreign thoughts would invade Pavo's mind as such. While the haunting's power was strong...
No way, bro. I heard you beat her first try. If so, that's crazy. I did not beat her first try. Definitely not. Last stream we got to her, and I had about 40 minutes of trying, maybe close to an hour. And then this time we did it in about 20 minutes or so. So it was a lot easier after sleeping on it and coming back a week later. I don't know why, but we also had crazy procs on our freaking dice. Literally our first attempt, which we got pretty far and further than we were on last session, I had like 5 to 6 dice procs. It was insane. I don't even understand how it happened. But after the third or fourth try this session, we got her. I think it was third.
It didn't enslave everyone. Some bugs, like Pondcatcher Reed,
is a cool fight, by the way. Like, I really thought we were going to fight Grandmother Silk, too. Like, I thought Void was going to take her or something. But it was interesting.
And Balo resisted the force that claimed their peers. It's not clear why some bugs were able to resist the haunting's power. Benjen and Krull, the two best characters in the game, share their own theories about it, saying, "The haunting? Oh, we's got that all worked out. Benjen and me are a right pair of philosophers when we bend our minds to it. It's faith that gets you. It's all caused by being too devout."
Oh, I forgot about this dialogue. So the haunting didn't affect him because they didn't have any faith in it? So does that mean that this haunting required you to have some like reverence to the area? Interesting.
Yeah, or maybe not being devout enough. Or maybe it's safest not to think about it at all. We could all learn a thing or two from these wise men. At some point, probably during the haunting,
Okay, maybe throw that out. I don't know.
Grandmother Silk also created her own children entirely out of silk, Phantom and Lace. In the Silk Heart
Phantom. Phantom. That's right.
cutscene after defeating Lace in the cradle, we get some dialogue hinting at Grandmother Silk's motivation for creating Lace. Better a child spun mad than none. Better a child spun frail than none. Better a child spun pure than them. One to
Wow, okay, interesting. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this explains why she was made. Okay, because we were talking about earlier, a child spun mad than none. So she spun a child being mad, one that's not going to be so strong because she is fully silk. And then because she didn't want to be alone, so she wanted some child, and then a better child spun pure than the mix of like weavers because how much they betrayed her. One to wish are waking.
wish are waking.
Yeah, okay, wait, one to wish are waking. So, wow. Yeah, that's crazy knowing that now. So the weavers had to sing her sleep, but they wouldn't let her wake up because they figured out they could just keep singing. Wow. That's cool. Okay.
From our silk, a child born loyal. So it seems Lace was created to be a loyal replacement for the weavers who betrayed Grandmother Silk in the past. Caretaker describes Lace as follows. Look of a child and a mind to match, but her's been up wandering this citadel longer than most, even in its long silence. Way 'fore you came and roused its ire. So Lace is kinda like a 1,000-year-old kid,
Right.
like you see in those Asian cartoons. So that's kinda
Sure.
weird. But
is
then
weird.
again, the Knight in Hollow Knight is technically using the body of an unborn fetus when you think about it. So maybe this is par for the course for Hollow Knight lore. The point is,
Fair.
it seems Grandmother Silk really emphasized the child aspect of Lace when creating her, perhaps thinking that would make her more loyal. But that plan created its own problems, as we'll see. Phantom is the other daughter created by Grandmother Silk, but she appears to be deteriorating by the time Hornet finds her hidden away in the exhaust
Yeah.
organ under the Citadel.
I mean, she even looks voided in a way. You know what I mean?
Her Needle dialogue contains lines like forgotten and discarded.
So this, oh wow, this is, I didn't even think about this, but Phantom is, there's a whole new drama because she made new children and then just immediately just, that's a failure, throw that out. And now we have Lace. That's crazy.
Implying that Grandmother Silk wasn't as invested in her as she was Lace.
Yeah.
But despite their different stations in Farloom, Lace and Phantom share a similar tragic fate. Inside this area is an empty tank. Playing the needle and reveals a thread memory of Lace talking to her sister inside the tank. The dialogue reads, "She spun us to fade. She spun us to break. Why us, sister? Why us?" Lace seems to resent her mother for her form, saying, "This weak, wasting existence. This was not life, just a husk shaped to act as a child." Lace's hunter's journal entry also claims that it would take a lot of silk to maintain Lace's form. So it seems Grandmother Silk's silk-spun children were fragile creations. Phantom has come to accept this by the events of the game, asking Hornet in her Needlin dialogue to free her from her fading fate.
Huh.
Lace, on the other hand, still isn't too happy about the whole being born frail thing. Huh. I wonder if this will be important later. At some point during all this, choir bugs were sent out from Farloom to track down and retrieve the weavers and their kin. The cages used to transport these weavers can be found in the cradle, giving us insight into where they were captured. A frail bug with 1/8 weaver ancestry was found in the Sand Sea.
So this also explains that the Weavers could, like, go and have a child, which, of course, Hornet. But I thought that he was saying early on that wasn't the case here. I don't know. That's interesting. I didn't think about this though. They went and tracked them down. Their Weavers had to result into just running away and living out their lives. They die, but their children were alive, and instead these people were sent out to go get them, to take them away, and that's what Hornet was brought here for.
Waste. Another 1/8 Weaver was mortally wounded and taken in the Black Barrens, and a quarter Ancestry Weaver was staked to serve and taken under the City of Steel. We can also find a Coral Commandment possessed by one of the bugs that kidnapped Hornet, which reads, "Full chamber to the kingdom of the White Worm. Claim the Weaver in half part. Last of their line. Send strong with silk. Resistance anticipated. Quell with rune cage."
Okay, so this is for us. Did I ever put that together? I don't think I remember putting this together, but it was the commandment to go get us.
What's interesting about this line is the phrase, "sensed strong with silk," which possibly implies that the Weavers could be sensed from Farloom, possibly explaining how the locations of the Weavers were known.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when the god of silk, and you have used silk in yourself to live and do things, I would imagine that silk is her. Like, Grandmother Silk is silk. All silk is Grandmother Silk. So it makes sense for her to be like, yes, there's, one over there, go get them.
It seems most likely that Grandmother Silk ordered these Weavers captured. Her exact motives are never directly stated, but it seems likely to me that Grandmother Silk wants these Weavers for their silken strength.
Sure.
Maybe she intends to bind these Weavers to herself, making her even stronger.
It could just be revenge. I mean, she literally was betrayed by her children.
While we know several Weavers were brought back to Farloom, only one can be found alive in-game, Widow. Widow is a pretty mysterious character in the lore. According to Hornet, her mask was forcibly removed, and heavy pins were stuck in her spine to keep her from making her own silk. Widow is a fanatic for Grandmother Silk, and a thread memory of her worshipping her in the cradle can be found. Widow is a bit crazed when Hornet finds her, and that seems to be the result of her mask being removed. We know from Hornet's interaction with Mask Maker in this game that masks can in fact alter a creature's personality.
Oh, yeah.
But who exactly removed Widow's mask, and why? One theory is that Widow is the Quarter Weaver who was captured and staked to service. That would make some sense, since Widow has been literally staked in the back.
Staked to service. Oh.
And is now serving Grandmother Silk. However, the stake to service line might be referring to what state this Weaver was in when they were first found by the Choir Bugs, not the ultimate fate they faced once back in Farloom. Aside from that, some of Widow's dialogue makes me think that something else is going on here. When she meets Hornet, Widow refers to her as spawn of those who dared to flee. This line implies to me that Widow didn't flee Farloom like her sisters.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Otherwise, it would come off a bit hypocritical. In her thread memory in the cradle, she says, "Of the first, the last," and "Our mother, true."
Of the first, the last, our mother true. She was the final, so first sinner, and then maybe she's the last widow, the last one made, the youngest.
These lines imply Widow has a much more direct connection with Grandmother Silk, as opposed to being only a 1/4 Weaver born somewhere outside of Farloom. I suspect Widow was the only Weaver still alive in Farloom after all the others fled. As for the removed mask and bounded silk, there are several possibilities. Perhaps Widow was punished by her fellow Weavers for continuing to support Grandmother Silk, even after she was put to sleep. Although, why wouldn't they just imprison her like they did for Sinner?
Yeah.
Maybe Grandmother Silk cruelly had Widow punished for the crimes of her fleeing sisters, and then kept her around as a servant. Or maybe Widow did it to herself, forcibly pulling her own mask off, similar to pulling out one's own teeth, as some kind of demented demonstration of fealty to her mother. Nothing is strictly confirmed though, and I'll be curious to see what theories evolve around this character. As for the Weavers that did flee Farloom, it seems their goal was still to create a child that could usurp Grandmother Silk. One of these groups ended up in Deep Nest, where one of its members, Hera the Beast, became queen. Deep Nest bordered a larger civilization called Hallow Nest, ruled by the Pale King and the White Lady. At some point, the Pale King asked Hera to become a dreamer, a role which would require her to fall into an eternal sleep. Hera agreed, but only if the Pale King gave her a child. The exact details of what happened next are far too dangerous to discuss here on YouTube.
Of course.
So please type this URL into your browser if you really want to know.
I don't think I will.
Either way, the result of all this was the birth of Hornet. We see during the Red Memory in Act 3 of Silksong that the Weavers were watching over Hornet closely, hoping to draw out her Weaver nature, saying, Prove yourself more weaver than worm. But Hera challenged this, telling Hornet, ignore them, daughter. They're whispers. Greater, grander, weaver, guardian, queen. Those are their desires, not your own. Certainly not mine.
That's so sweet. I love that moment. That was honestly one of my favorite moments too. Oh my god. But also, I think there was something to say, some symbolism with the weaver slowly disappearing while she was trying to weave her dress.
Only if you
I almost feel like that's a connection of like they lost hope in her.
resist them, you might see it. Another hope beyond.
And history repeats itself. They look at Atla and they saw a weak, frail version of what they wanted to destroy the god, and they look at a firstborn weaver or a firstborn hornet here, and they see weakness. And I think that what makes Hornet strong is that she learned to fight, and she took the hard, to take the old Naruto story along. He was not born really good at anything, but he practiced. He was a hard worker. I think Hornet is a hard worker and like became powerful.
So it seems the Weaver saw Hornet's strength as a pale being and hoped that she would finally help them defeat Grandmother Silk.
I don't think they
Hera,
believed
on
in
the
her.
other hand, seemingly had no interest in this plan, encouraging Hornet to forge her own path. There's just one wrinkle to all this I just don't understand. During the events of Hollow Knight, we see that the Weaver's den and deep nest is completely abandoned, save for one Weaver which can be spotted watching the night.
Wait, really? I don't remember that.
According to the Weaver song charm found in this area, these Weavers actually left Hollow Nest for their old home, Farloom. But if that's the case, what happened to them? The Weave Nest tablets make it pretty clear that they wanted to stay as far away from Grandma Silky as possible. The only possible indication of where the Hollow Nest Weavers went can be found in Weave Nest Absalom in the Abyss. In this Weave Nest, Hornet can find the Far Sight item. This item allows observation over vast distances, and can tell Hornet the state of the world. In the real world, this would be a horrifying mass surveillance device, the likes of which only exist in fiction stories, like the classic novel 1984. But in-game, it basically means the player can now see the game's completion percentage. There are a lot of parallels that can be drawn between this item and the Pale King from Hollow Nest. The design...
Wait, what? Yeah, they're kind of connected in shape. Is that the thing? I guess it is.
of the object itself vaguely resembles him. The Pale King has an ability described as foresight, allowing him to know the future to some extent. The lore tablet he left for the Hollow Knight in the Black Egg Temple also gives the world sensibility, which allows the player to see the game's completion percentage. The rune effect in the Farsight cutscene also resembles runes we see in the cast-off shell. So it's possible the Weavers designed this device after encountering the Pale King in Hollow Nest and returning to Farloom. But if that's the case,
maybe.
Where are they? Another possibility is that the Weavers encountered a different worm than the Pale King, and that's what inspired them to build the Farsight. We just don't have quite enough information to say for sure.
Yeah, that one seems a little weird. I'm not sure about that. I have a feeling, and I still stick by that theory I had while we were playing. I think the Farsight is an explanation of you are able to die and have a dream and go recover your body. And I think worms see the future to a degree. Like, because if he was fully omnipresent, if he could see everything and know every future, see the future entirely, he would have been able to solve the problems of his kingdom way easier. But if you think about it in the sense of like Hollow Knight, you're able to like die and come back, die and come back. You have chances at things, but sometimes things are impossible. So I don't know. I think that I stand by that. I think that that's an intended thing. It may not be. It may even had like some of the devs deny it in some weird way, but I think that there's some connection there. And it also makes me think Steel Soul is to say something is different about your soul, and you didn't inherit that ability. I don't know. I really like that theory. I want to stick with it.
One way or another, Chorus bugs were sent to Hollow Nest. They eventually captured Hornet within a rune cage and carried her all the way back to Farloom. And now we finally made it to the events of Silksong proper. It's at this point I want to thank a few people for their help on this video, talking lore with me and sharing ideas, as well as the Hollow Knight wiki community in general, for just being really cool. Also the modding community as well. It took a bit of time for the wiki and mod communities to build up around Hollow Knight when it released back in 2017.
Right.
So it's been awesome to watch the community tear Silksong apart like a pack of ravenous hyenas on the Serengeti. It honestly brings a tear to my eye, and I don't even cry that much anymore. As the party arrives in Farloom, a silkfly appears out of nowhere and breaks the rune on Hornet's cage. Hornet escapes from her captors and begins her long trek up to the citadel, telling the chapel maid, "Then I shall seek their citadel. If the veiled bugs would go to such lengths to bring me here, I intend to find out why." Along the way, Hornet will meet beloved characters, such as Quiet Pilgrim, Fearful Pilgrim, Aged Pilgrim, Tall Pilgrim, Solemn Pilgrim, Worried Pilgrim, Dejected Pilgrim, Wary Pilgrim, Exhausted Pilgrim, Pilgrim Preacher, Humble Pilgrim, Scared Pilgrim, Horned Pilgrim,
oh my god,
and everyone's favorite, Mort. She'll also find corpses of her dead ancestors who have waited for her arrival so they could share their strength with her in hopes that she may dethrone Grandmother Silk. Hornet will also face some of her greatest threats yet, such as lava, spike traps, thorns, rocks, bells, steam, and other such obstacles worthy of challenging a godlike being such as Hornet.
Yes.
Hornet can bear witness to many strange rituals along her way.
Wait, I don't remember that.
She can find pilgrims enthralled in worship, she can break bread with bugs still in control of their senses, and she can even learn to play almost 10 whole songs on her needlin.
Nice.
Hornet can even stumble upon a strange cult of burning bugs obsessed with flame. Deep within the thicket, Hornet can find the father of the flame, a giant totem and god, containing the burning corpse of an aged bug. Huh, I wonder if this will be important later. Depending on how she ascends Farloom, right? Hornet can also be attacked by Lace in Deep Docks. Lace is conducting silkflies in this scene, perhaps indicating that she is the one who freed Hornet from her cage at the...
Oh, I was wondering, because part of me thought that the silkflies had some kind of personality or some want, and they saw Hornet as a way out. But I guess too, it would make a lot of sense that Lace wanted us to go destroy Grandmother Silk, because she also felt as another betrayal of a child, not loyal at all, really. That makes
start
a lot
of the
sense.
game. Lace seems jealous that...
But I didn't know anything that connected to it. But yeah, she was conducting flies. I bet she did do this.
Her mother is more interested in Hornet than her.
That's a great theory. I love that. That's a great connection.
So she has decided...
She's at least on top of my board now, knowing that she was conducting. That's great.
I had to kill Hornet to keep her from reaching her mother at the Citadel. However, if Hornet takes a different route to the Citadel, Lace will just show up and taunt her without actually fighting her. A true hater. In her journey, Hornet may also come across Haunted Bellheart, a town whose citizens have been strung up by silk into the air. Hornet describes a situation like this. The thread sickness. I've seen its like upon the roads, but there it does not discriminate. The curse that strikes the town, it is driven, focused, a cold use of silk at a concerning scale. Upon investigating the area, Hornet discovers the culprit, Widow. While not the source of the silk itself, Widow can play music upon it to manipulate the silk to her whim. Widow curses the town as a gift for Grandmother Silk, and now sees Hornet as another offering she can give her mother. Once Hornet defeats Widow, she binds the ancestral art Needlin. From here, Hornet has two paths to the Citadel. She can either ring the 5 bells located in the bell shrines scattered throughout Farloom and fight the last judge at the peak of the Blasted Steps.
That's all we did.
Or she can venture through Sinner's Road to find the Mist, a strange region of warped space in Farloom full of silkflies and vengeful wraiths. By playing her Needlin for the silkflies, Hornet can find her way to the Exhaust Organ and defeat Phantom. Upon defeating either Last Judge or Phantom, Hornet will gain access to the Citadel. Hornet arrives at a seemingly empty Citadel, until Lace appears again to taunt her. Hornet tells Lace she knows a higher being is responsible for the haunting overtaking Farloom. Lace mocks Hornet, telling her that she has no chance of defeating Grandmother Silk. Hornet replies by saying, I've found those who claim themselves a god can rarely match the title, and experience tells me even gods can fall.
Yeah.
After this interaction, Grandmother Silk lets out a scream, and the Citadel comes to life with the haunted husks of Citadel bugs. Once Hornet reaches the top of the Citadel and defeats the Cogwork dancers, she must complete the threefold melody, recovering the 3 separate songs held by the architects, keepers, and conductors.
We just did that.
But before she can get the melodies, Hornet will have to fight one of the most complex and thematically rich characters in Silksong, and perhaps even all of fiction, Trabio. Trabio is a tragic character. His dream was to bring the Citadel back to life through the magic of the Great Stage. He called upon Hornet to be his partner in reigniting the flame that fuels the land of Farloom. The two danced a dance of unparalleled beauty, with every step, every turn, every goddamn exploding ball executed exactly as choreographed. But then tragedy struck, when Hornet straight up murders Trabio for real, live on stage. Trabio made the ultimate sacrifice for Farloom, and now he's dead forever. And yet, he lives on in the hearts and minds of children all over the world.
Yeah.
Thank you, Trabio.
Thank you, Trabio.
It seems recovering the parts of the threefold melody was meant to be impossible. Hornet mentions that the climb through the Cogwork core to reach the Architect's melody would be near impossible for a normal bug. And Vault Keeper Cardenius even outright states it was against the law for a Vault Keeper to share the Vault Keeper's melody with a non-Vault Keeper. These roadblocks to completing the threefold melody might play into the idea that regular bugs were never actually supposed to be able to reach the top of the Citadel to learn the truth about Grandmother Silk's imprisonment.
Right.
Hornet plays the completed melody to the statues and is finally granted access to a lift that will transport her to the cradle. At the top of the lift, Hornet finds Lace, waiting for her in a field of flowers. After the battle, the two finally discuss Lace's true nature. Lace expresses frustration at her silken form, viewing it as a cruel mimicry of life. Hornet tries to console her, but Lace is having none of it, and promptly dies. With Lace out of the way, Hornet finally confronts Grandmother Silk, the pale being responsible for everything that's happened up to this point. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect her to look like this. She's not bug-like at all. Yeah. She's like some kind of weird woman. This is what a woman looks like, by the way. After defeating her, Hornet binds Grandmother Silk to herself. As she does so, her crest expands immensely, and her masks transform into Weaver-style ones. Hornet's binding results in the entire Citadel getting covered in a thick web of silk. We then see Hornet's body curled up inside the cradle as she grows additional pairs of arms.
Yeah.
This ending is referred to as Weaver Queen in the game's achievements menu. It seems this was the end goal of the Weavers. Much like Eva before her, Hornet was an attempt by the Weavers to create a being capable of usurping Grandmother Silk. The Weaver Queen ending is not a happy ending for Hornet, as it depicts her following the predestined path the Weavers wanted for her, with her body becoming even more Weaver-like in appearance. But we know that wasn't Hornet's true desire. At some point the caretaker asks this of Hornet, saying, "Ready to make your play, to oust one ruler and claim her place?" To which Hornet replies, "I'll not deny some part of me desires that outcome. Dominance, it seems, is baked deep in my blood, as too, no doubt, for the one up top. And yet, another part resists. A part, over time, I find myself siding with more. That part wishes not to claim a monarch's mantle. Rather would see my freedom regained, and this kingdom's bugs unshackled from their pale chains." So if the Weaver Queen ending is a bad ending for Hornet, are there any good ones? Well, let's look at the Twisted Child ending. To get this ending, Hornet has to bring the Twisted Bud item to Greyroot, a strange creature located in Shellwood. Doing this lets Hornet access the Rite of Rebirth quest, where Greyroot injects Hornet with a parasite that limits her silk and removes her ability to equip tools. To remove the parasite, Hornet must seek help from Yarnaby in Greymoor, a doctor kicked out of Belhart for her questionable medical practices. But Hornet can actually just keep adventuring around Farloom instead of dealing with the parasite immediately. This can lead to some interesting interactions. Eva will bar Hornet from entering her chamber. Any wardenfly that catches Hornet in a cage will be killed by the parasite. Tip and Pill will refuse to let
what?
Injects Hornet with a parasite that limits her silk, keep adventuring around Farloom instead of dealing with the parasite immediately. This can lead to some interesting interactions. Eva will bar Hornet from entering her chamber. Any wardenfly that catches Hornet in a cage will be
a wardenfly that catches us.
Killed by the parasite.
Wow, interesting.
Tip and Pill will refuse to let Hornet make deliveries.
Yeah, you don't look like you're doing deliveries there.
But the biggest change comes from when Hornet defeats Grandmother Silk while still infected.
Right.
Both pale beings will get tangled in the parasite's roots and be turned into some kind of hardened plant material. Then this happens.
Baby.
So I don't think that's a particularly good ending either.
Yeah, what
But
was
the bad
born?
endings don't stop there. There's actually another ending that was cut from the game called Strung to Serve.
Oh.
From what information I've seen, this ending was originally going to trigger if Hornet hadn't rung enough of the Bell Shrine bells across Farloom. There's a cut line from Caretaker implying these bells weaken Grandmother Silk. In the final game, these bells just unlock one of the two paths to the Citadel, so they aren't quite as important as they might have been earlier in the game's development.
Sure.
In this ending, Grandmother Silk overpowers Hornet at the end of the battle. We get a shot of what appears to be some kind of fusion between the two beings. This
Weird.
being then sends threads down to the hapless pilgrims below. So in this ending, it seems like Grandmother Silk succeeded in taking Hornet's strength
Just
and
took
is now
everyone.
free to enslave all of Farloom to her will. So
Okay. So there was some reasoning. I have a feeling that they cut the whole, like, she's looking for silk. I feel like she has enough silk, right? It's kind of weird. But I guess that why would Lace and Phantom be waning if they had enough silk to survive?
So that's a really, really bad ending. But don't worry, I'm sure the next ending will be good, right? Well, no, it's not a good ending. It's honestly not even really an ending.
No, it's not.
If Hornet helps enough people in Farloom, the Caretaker will eventually suggest to her a method to trap Grandmother Silk. This involves collecting the souls of the Caretaker's remaining relatives left in Farloom. These souls include the Chapel Maid in the Moss Grotto, the Bell Hermit underneath Bellheart, and a deceased bug whose soul can be found in bile water. Both the Chapel Maid and the Bell Hermit give their souls willingly, but the remaining soul, the Seeker's soul, is a little more difficult to obtain. At some point, this bug traveled into bile water to seek the help of the Stillkin. But instead of working with this bug to fight against the Citadel, the Stillkin killed him and took his soul.
Yeah.
Hornet has to infiltrate the Stillkin's home, Bilehaven, and defeat them and their leader, Grohl the Great. Now, I have the feeling
We just
people are
did that
going to
without
try and
knowing.
make the Stillkin out to be the bad guys here. But I'll be honest, if the Seeker was anything like the Caretaker or the Bell Hermit, I don't blame the Stillkin for doing what they did. I will stand with Grohl the Great here, and I hope you do too. The Caretaker also instructs Hornet to search Weaveness Atla for the Weaver's prototype weapon, the Snare Setter. Hornet gives these three souls and the Snare Setter to the Caretaker, who then sets up the trap inside the cradle. Hornet then challenges Grandmother Silk.
Yeah.
After defeating her, instead of binding, Hornet plays her needle in to activate the Caretaker's trap. But something unexpected happens. A large circle of void within the Snare Setter appears beneath Hornet and Grandmother Silk. The art assets for this thing imply that it's actually opening a portal directly to the Abyss.
Right.
The void starts to pull Grandmother Silk in, who in turn grabs onto Hornet, attempting to drag her down as well. But this scheme is thwarted by Lace, who cuts Hornet free and falls into the void with her mother. The two disappear into a giant black ball of void that then collapses in on itself, creating a shockwave that shakes the entire Citadel. But just as things seem to have finally ended, void-covered silk threads reach up through the ground from below. This concludes the snared silk ending. But instead of putting Hornet back to before the fight in the save file, this ending triggers Silksong's third act, called Abyss.
Oh my
Hornet
gosh,
awakens
yeah.
to find
was
that all of
crazy to find
Farloom has
out.
been altered, with environments wrecked by the appearance of black threads, NPCs killed in the quakes, and enemies possessed by void. Hornet travels back to the ruined chapel where she confronts the Caretaker, the Chapel Maid, and the Bell Hermit, who we learn at this point are actually snail shamans.
Yep.
It turns out their fascination with the void led them to try and use it in combination with the Snare Setter to trap Grandmother Silk in the Abyss. The only problem is Lace also fell into the trap. This has caused Grandmother Silk to violently resist against the void, continuously creating more silk to keep the Abyss from consuming her daughter. And at the same time, void-infused threads connected to her cocoon have shot up into Farloom, threatening to destroy the entire kingdom. Hornet resolves to travel to the Abyss to investigate. She heads to the deep docks to seek the help of Ballo in using the old
Ballo.
diving bell to drop down into the Abyss. Ballo obliges, but the age of
This
the
is-
bell causes
This is honestly just like a really good recap. Like I'm now I've internalized what we've done in this game, and it's honestly kind of a nice little recap to kind of end this.
a malfunction. leaving Hornet stranded deep below Farloom. Hornet looks for Grandmother Silk, but discovers that she has been submerged within the Sea of Void. Lace, never one to waste an opportunity to mock Hornet, somehow astral projects herself into the room and tells Hornet there's nothing she can do to save Farloom.
The way I interpret this, of how she's doing this, is she is literally Silk, and what's coming out of there is a Void Silk combo, those strings. So there is somehow she's manipulating that to be like there. There's also a level of like there is Silk in Hornet, so maybe that she has some control to be like projecting something in Hornet's thoughts. I don't even know, but I could see a lot of ways I could explain it.
Lace explains that she saved Hornet as an act of rebellion against her mother for creating her so frail, and seems to relish in the idea of dooming her mother and all of Farloom along with her. But Hornet remains determined, claiming that she will acquire the bloom that repels the dark. Hornet returns to the top of the abyss, only to find that the diving bell has disappeared, so she has to climb back out of the abyss herself. It's at this point that the music from the 2019 reveal trailer starts playing for the first and only time during the entire game. Now, I've watched that trailer probably over 300 times in the last 6 years, and it was honestly kind of weird not hearing all the sound effects from the trailer. Hopefully Team Cherry will patch the game to add them back in. I really think that would make this moment even more epic. Hornet returns to the Snail Shamans and explains that she must retrieve an Everbloom from within her own memories. We see what is likely the exact same type of flower in Hollow Knight, going by the name Delicate Flower. Grey Mourner, one of the Pale King's 5 great knights, brought the delicate flower from a faraway land, and requests that the knight take the flower to the grave of her dead lover, the Traitor Lord's daughter.
Does that mean we could take the pale flower to the void and not be hit?
I don't know what it is with Team Cherry and tragic dead gay lovers, but if you are gay or have a gay lover, and Team Cherry wants to put you in their game, maybe stop and think about it first. If the knight tries to give the delicate flower to the White Lady, she declines, explaining that the flower contains a rare power. She also tells Hornet in the Red Memory that the Everbloom is the first light. The knight can give the flower to the Godseeker, but while she recognizes it as rare and pure, she can't detect any godliness from it. However, giving the delicate flower to Godseeker actually unlocks an alternate ending for Hollow Knight.
Wait, really?
The Godseekers in Hollow Knight are attempting to attune to the Radiance, who they detect as the highest god in all the land. When the knight first arrives in Godhome, a dream realm inside the mind of the Godseeker, she is not impressed, calling it a cringer. But if the knight continues to clear the pantheons, defeating boss after boss, the Godseeker begins to take notice of the knight. Upon defeating the Absolute Radiance at the end of the Pantheon of Hallownest, the knight seems to take on a new form, referred to in-game as Void Given Focus.
Oh. So yeah, we're kind of getting knowledge here that we didn't know, but that's interesting. Void Given Focus. So he's a void god?
After this transformation, the knight begins to leak out from the Godseeker, with void tendrils lashing out from her body. However, if the Godseeker is holding the delicate flower, Godseeker and the void leaking from her disappear, leaving only the flower with a single stained petal. So it does indeed seem like the Everbloom can repel void. Whether or not this event in Hollow Knight is the memory Hornet has of the Everbloom.
That's crazy. What in the world? Okay, that's sick. That's some knowledge, dude. That's some knowledge. Holy crap. Play? It's frozen, guys. It's not going.
Everbloom is unclear, though. The White Lady calling the Everbloom the first light.
Hold on. Does that mean if we went with the delicate flower into the void below, it would be repelled? Has anyone done that in the first game?
Implies this flower might be a primordial force in the world of Hollow Knight. It's described as having a pale light, maybe indicating that the power found within all pale beings is connected to it.
Oh. Interesting. I mean, it does connect up like color-wise. Pale flower, pale beings. There's some force in the world that is pale, and there's some force in the world that is void. Huh.
but for whatever reason, only these flowers can repel void. Due to her nature as a weaver, Hornet can access things like the Everbloom from her memories using silk. So I guess it kinda works like Essence in Hollow Knight, but instead it's silk, because what can't silk do in this universe? They can make frickin' laser beams out of silk, for God's sake. However, Hornet needs a spell from the Snail Shamans to actually access the Everbloom. The Snail Shamans tell her they can cast the spell, but it will require a tremendous amount of power. They tell Hornet to seek the Old Hearts, the strength remaining from the former rulers of Farloom, Crust King Khan, Scar Singer Carmelita, and Nihilith. The Shamans then teach Hornet a new song on her Needlin, Elegy of the Deep, which will allow her to access the memories of these bugs from when they were in their prime, so basically like traveling to a pocket dimension. This is similar to the film Shrek Forever After. Hornet finds the Old Hearts scattered all across Farloom.
God.
In the wind-blasted sands of Karak, she can find the corpse of Crust King Khan, hidden away in the Coral Tower.
King Kong.
He's even got all his soldiers with him, aura farming even in death. Makes you think. In Upper Shellwood, she finds a shrine built begrudgingly by the Citadel in honor of Nihilith. The shrine itself is protected by Shrine Guardian Seth, who stops any bug who would try to approach it, killing them if necessary. It's not clear where Seth came from, or why he's even in service to Nihilith, but it seems like he's under some kind of spell, considering his personality completely changes after Hornet defeats him, revealing himself to be a total gamer. Finally, a Hollow Knight character I can relate to. Well, him and Styx. On the east end of Farfields, Hornet can find the withered frame of Scar Singer Carmelita, who's gotten a little bit bigger since she was young. I've heard this is what protein powder does to you. Playing her newly learned song will allow Hornet to battle Khan, Nihilith, and Carmelita in their prime and claim their hearts for the Snail Shaman's ritual.
Probably my favorite boss.
Hornet can also, completely unprompted mind you, track down the Green Prince on the border of Verdania and murder him while he mourns the loss of his lover. Hornet will then call him vain in her murder journal. What the fuck, Hornet? This means Hornet can actually acquire 4 Old Hearts. Whichever one she doesn't give to the Snail Shamans will get put on a shelf in her bell home.
Oh, so you could choose.
What is her problem? Upon bringing the Old Hearts to the Snail Shamans, the trio cast their spell, sending Hornet into the Red Memory, a dream space flashing back to moments of her past. We see the Weavers in...
Go back to that. Wait a minute. You can see, because they sacrifice themselves, I believe, unless they're just in their shells, but I think that they sacrifice themselves here.
The trio cast their spell, sending Hornet into the Red Memory, a dream space flashing back to moments of her past. We see the Weavers influencing Hornet from a young age, encouraging her to embrace her Weaver heritage. We then see Hera telling Hornet to forge her own path in life, and that she is not bound to follow the desires of her Weaver kin. Good mom. We then see Hornet training with Hive Queen Vespa, the ruler of the Hive, a location hidden away in the far reaches of Hallownest. The idea that Hornet was trained by Vespa was mentioned by Ari Gibson all the way back in 2017, but he implied the relationship might not have applied anymore. But 8 years later, Team Cherry has finally confirmed it.
Nice.
Now, you might think that this interaction finally explains why Hornet's name is Hornet, but the game technically doesn't indicate that anywhere in Vespa's dialogue. For all we know, Hera just named her that. At the end of the Red Memory, Hornet confronts the White Lady, who defends her actions regarding the creation of the vessels. In case you forgot this minor plot point from Hollow Knight, the Pale King and the White Lady created the vessels by dropping their children into the abyss and allowing the void to hollow them out. One vessel was chosen to contain the Radiance, a vengeful moth god who has infected the kingdom of Hallownest with a sickness that preys on the minds and dreams of its citizens. Not only does this plan fail, as the Hollow Knight wasn't pure enough to contain the Radiance, but countless more vessels, including the player character from the game, were abandoned in the abyss. Hollow Knight's story is about the player character, the Knight, coming to terms with its past and deciding the fate of Hallownest on its own terms. So, all things considered, not the best showing by these two higher beings. And Hornet even calls the White Lady out here, saying she would never resort to such a weak scheme for salvation. The White Lady responds with pity, and finally offers Hornet the Everbloom. I think this sequence serves as Hornet rejecting the excuses of her divine kin. It seems Hornet views their actions as coming from a position of weakness, while Hornet has come to find the strength to craft the world exactly as she dreams it. And through that strength, Hornet will choose to save another from the void, instead of sacrificing an entire generation of offspring to it.
Yeah, I like that. I actually didn't think they were talking about that at the moment when that was happening. I didn't know the reference was to how they did it. Or maybe I did, but I don't think I internalized it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hornet's resolve is reflected in the journal entry for Lost Lace, which reads, "To quell the mother's rage and see this kingdom saved, I will claim her back. This one the dark shall not take." Hornet
Lost Lace. I forgot we got the log for that. We didn't read it.
awakens in the snail shaman's hut, but all three of them are now gone, save for their shells. They seem to have used all their energy when casting the spell, and faded away.
Right.
Let's have a moment of silence for the snail shamans, who bravely gave their lives for Farloom. Anyways, here's my tier list for them. With the Everbloom in hand, Hornet returns to Deep Docks, where Ballo has fixed the diving bell. Hornet descends into the abyss again, where Lace stops her to chat one more time, saying, "Take the final plunge, Spider. Join us in my drowning palace, and let Oblivion swallow us all." Hornet rebuffs Lace, saying, "Oblivion may take you, child. My own life I shall not sacrifice. I have survived the fury of your land. I have borne its barbs and its blades, and I have seen wonders behind its dangers. But always, child, I remain a daughter of Hallownest, and the void below all things, that darkness I will fear no longer."
Fair.
This is the last line of dialogue in the game before the true ending, and it's also the only time in the entire game the word Hallownest is spoken.
True.
Which, considering Hollow Knight is 8 years old at this point, I think legally qualifies as nostalgia bait. You hate to
Maybe.
see it. Hornet then begins her
Maybe.
descent into the lake of nothing below. Hornet arrives in a silken sphere created by Grandmother Silk. The pale monarch can be seen inside, bare of silk. Lace finally appears, but this time corrupted by Void, referred to in-game as Lost Lace. Hornet proceeds to beat the crap out of her, slowly freeing her body from the corrupting Void.
that.
Once Lace is finally cleansed by Hornet's blade, Hornet asks Grandmother Silk to give her enough silk so that she can escape the Sea of Void and return Lace to safety. However, as Hornet and Lace rocket through the void,
This is
the
interesting.
petals of the
I'm really interested in what he's going to say here. It has to be a connection of, because I didn't know the whole thing with the god stuff. I do wonder if the end of that story over in the first Hollow Knight is that you become a god of void given focus, then that's to say that the first protagonist in the game has some consciousness in the void that is, so there's like two levels of the void. The void is chaos and trying to eat away at everything to stay alive, like it's constantly raising up and expanding is what I think we've read about in playing the game, and I think that there's always void and it seems to raise, and that what might be left at the end of all things is void in this universe. But God given void, so a void given focus is the first guy you play. At the end of it makes me think that it's almost like an evolution of that, a combination of everything, that there is conscious thought, not just chaos in it at this point. And I assume that's what comes and saves us here at the end. But it also shows like multiple versions of it, like all the lost souls of the siblings in the first game. So maybe there's something there too. Interesting. I wonder if he's gonna think it's the whole ending with that god thing, or if it's gonna be more just the siblings saved you because they were given to the void and you were a sibling of that.
The Everbloom disintegrate. The ever-hungry void tendrils take this opportunity to strike, but are stopped by none other than the Knight, who has arrived in Farloom with the rest of the Shades. We even briefly see the Knight's focused form.
Oh, yeah, the focus form. Okay. So the Knight came and saved Hornet. Aw, that's great.
Indicating that the Knight has likely been elevated in power by the ritual of Godhome in this timeline. We never really got a sense of the Knight's desires in the events of Hollow Knight, but I feel the Dream No More ending was about the Knight and its siblings destroying the Radiance, not because they wanted to save Hallownest or anything, but because they wanted to free the Hollow Knight from its suffering, trapped in the Black Egg, separated from its siblings.
Aw.
The Knight also choosing to help Hornet, another one of its siblings, implies that the Knight really does care for her. And it's not like Hornet also didn't help the Knight as well, guiding it towards the King's brand so it could learn the truth of its conception. So the knight helping Hornet here is another example of how Hornet helping others leads to the world of Hollow Knight being a better place, at
Aw.
least in some ways.
I
The
love
knight
that.
returns Hornet and Lace to the surface, the void threads around them dissipate, the two awaken, and Lace has a bit of a laugh while Hornet hits her with the Weaver stare. This ending is called Sister of the Void. Farloom and its white knight have been saved from complete destruction, and the system of endless song and toil has finally been eradicated. But now that we've talked about Silksong's story in detail, just one question remains. What is this game even about? Maybe it's a story about lineage, and how we shouldn't let our ancestors decide our fate.
Yeah, a bit of that.
Or it might be a biting criticism of how religion is a tool used by the powers that be to extract labor from the unwitting proletariat.
Definitely can be.
It could be an examination on the nature of truth and how the web of lies we spin will inevitably ensnare us.
I could see that.
Perhaps it's a story about the relationship between mothers and daughters, and how mutual love and respect should be shared between them, with no
Parenting.
strings attached. Or maybe spiders are just assholes.
Yeah, I think it's that last one. I think, guys, we have become learned. And I think that if you've become learned, you could take off a dunce hat. So we're taking this off to use in a later date. Oh, well. 1 second. It's actually on there really well. Oh, my God. But we have donned the dunce for too long. We have completed the Hollow Knight. And we have learned the Hollow Knight. I think that is the end of our journey until DLCs and maybe another attempt at P5. I'll be honest, knowing what I know now, I probably would have held out to probably finish P5 or whatever Pantheon I'm on to see that ending. But at the same time, I don't think that was going to happen for a long time. And I wouldn't have had the motivation to go do that until knowing. So we still might go back and do that because that is interesting. The true ending of our first protagonist is that he becomes void focused and is essentially with the void. And that's so interesting to me. Well, very cool. Very interesting. Thank you. Be sure to go and like Moss Bag in the very cool video. A lot of hard work on that one. I cannot like it. I don't know why it's not letting me like it, but I'm going to try to like it again. Okay. Well, I don't know what's going on, but that's fine. Everything's okay. What is happening right now? 1 second. Stop.
Oi!
Boy.
Ever
okay.
since
I
its
don't know
release back in
why
September of 2025, people have been debating what the plot
YouTube is freaking out. Like the video. I'm going to like the video after the stream because apparently you can't do that. But be sure to send some love to Mossbag. Obviously, there's already a lot of love here, but that's awesome. I just don't want to be like, that is his video. That was just my reaction to it. But yes, very cool. Let's cancel
of
out
Hollow
of
Knight
that.
Silksong even.
And you know what? Let's 1 second here. I'm going to turn this off, and we are going to boot this back up for a second. And I think what we're going to do is end our stream here in just a second, guys. And technically end our video for this reaction. Very, very cool. What an experience, this game. And just how much lore is in it. It's mind-boggling. The amount of work and detail that Team Cherry puts in into Hollow Knight, it's just like I'm just always a fan of like this kind of like pure passion level of work and love, and it's cool. Just wanted to get back into the game just to look here at our final entry, which we didn't look at before. All the way to the bottom. Lost lace. Silk spun child possessed by the void. To quell the mother's rage and see this kingdom saved, I will claim her back. This one, the dark shall not take. I love that the knight came and saved us, and that's a confirmation. I guess it was the knight. I thought it was, but I saw all of them, and I was like, maybe it's all the siblings. So they have almost a life in the void, which is kind of cool to see as well. Well, I guess I need to end it. I need to close the book on this tale, at least for now. So thank you all for watching. It's been a fun journey. I hope you enjoyed my playthrough, and we're on to the next one. So, see you then. Bye. See you guys.